Okay. Whoops, my bad, guys. Let me just go back. Port 26, not port 25. Alright. Just me a little misspelling. Alright, so let's go back into this. So he's gonna do a Mount Rushmore for every anime. Not every anime, but at least for animes that he cares about to talk about. Of course.
Today, what we're going to be doing is we're making a Mount Rushmore for a bunch of different series. Typically, people talk about the anime Mount Rushmore or the cartoon Mount Rushmore. Well, this is going to be maybe a Dragon Ball Z Mount Rushmore, or it could be a One Piece Mount Rushmore. So we're going to go through multiple different series and try to find like the best characters that fit Mount Rushmore. Now, just to be clear, the way I see the Mount Rushmore characters are not necessarily your favorite characters or the strongest characters or the best characters all the time. It really is characters that had such a huge impact on the story that it revolutionized the story. It changed the
So essentially, it's utility. Whoever's most useful has the most impact, essentially.
story. Their impact on the story is that powerful. Sometimes it may be the MC. The MC may make it there, and then sometimes it might not. It depends on what the series is. So I'm gonna start off with DBZ first. If we're gonna do Dragon Ball, should it be just DBZ or should it be all of Dragon Ball? Like we can go into Super if we need to. All right. So more people are saying all, so I'm just gonna put all.
You could just erase DB. You could just erase the Z. You didn't have to add in all. He's wasted a little. He's wasted a few seconds, bro.
Y'all say put Goku up there already. Goku's one of those characters that 100% revolutionized all of DBZ.
Obviously, he's the main character. He's the main character. The first guy ever turned Super Saiyan before it got retconned. And so, oh, it wasn't actually Goku, it was actually Bardock or some dumb shit like that. He's the main character. When he's out of everyone that's relevant in Super, it's literally him and Vegeta. Everyone else is basically like nobodies. And you get the occasional Bulma. Besides that, you're not useful.
Changed like the whole look on Saiyans. Somebody said first Super Saiyan. Goku's not the first. We have Goku now locked in. Jorge, you said it. Bulma created a time machine. But not only that, Bulma is kind of like the ambassador of Earth. She is the whole reason why Beerus and Whis were willing to even work with Universe 7. I think I want to put Bulma here. Gus and Gohan. But I felt like Gohan
wasn't it because that they had good food? That was the reason why Beerus even decided to let the Earth stay? Because that's what he did for the, Oh my gosh. Hold on a second, guys. Alright.
have enough to be here because yes, he did defeat Cell, but I already look at Gohan as a character that took some time off from trying to achieve higher heights until later on in the series. I know.
Oh yeah, he took some time off just to be a normal person. Oh yeah, he took some time off. He took some time off because he wanted to raise a family and be a normal dude, and just want to explore bugs. He just wants to be a normal person. But obviously fans and obviously higher ups don't fucking like that because they want Gohan to be just like Goku.
Discussed Mr. Satan as well. We're putting him on standby for now because his impact was great, but it was great on Earth. But since we are doing all of Dragon Ball, that means Dragon Ball Super. Where is Frieza? In this first poll, I put down the names I saw the most, but we can talk about Frieza if we need to. Now, Vegeta working alongside Goku with the fusions is massive. But if we're talking about what he changed in the verse, I think a lot of that was credited to Goku, and rightfully so. Even with that being being said, what did Vegeta revolutionize? We love him as a character, but I'm talking about characters that revolutionize things. Trunks, I feel like, might have an even bigger role as somebody that has revolutionized things. Even Piccolo. So Piccolo won. Vegeta got number 2. I get why people wanted Piccolo. The influence of the Namekians on planet Earth, just in general, are massive. And I feel like if you did not watch Daima, you're not going to value the Namekians. I feel like you have to watch Daima to really appreciate how big the influence of the Namekians on the series is. So hold on, let me write Piccolo in.
Let's be honest here. The Namekians are. I'm not watching Daima. All these freaking intercalls and all that bullshit. I'm not watching fucking Daima because Daima has literally nothing point about Daima. What in Daima freaking brings back in Super? What if Daima is referenced in Super? Nothing. So who cares about Daima?
This is absolutely insane. All right, I'll pull it again. Vegeta versus Frieza. This is up to you guys now. After a minute is up, then we move on. Vegeta wins by a landslide, honestly. So Vegeta's gonna finish this out. All right, just so y'all can get a final look at the list here. So in the Dragon Ball, all of Dragon Ball, Mount Rushmore, we have Goku, Bulma, Piccolo, and Vegeta. You guys essentially are saying that no villains deserve to be in the Dragon Ball Mount Rushmore. Let's move on to the next series.
I mean, Vegeta was a villain.
Gonna waste time. Naruto is the most revolutionary character in Naruto. Like, he's the most game-changing. Taming the Nine Tails, obviously he learned that from Killer Bee, but being able to take back what people vilified him for from basically birth is one of the greatest things we've seen in the series.
Yeah, but he's not the only one though. But you have again Killer Bee. So again, that's literally nothing. When did the freaking Jinchuriki became a freaking Mizukage? Like, who really cares?
Okay, Naruto's here. All right, who's next? Now, if we talk about the copy ninja, Kakashi being one of the characters that was not born in Uchiha, but being able to use the Sharingan to such an elite level that he was able to box with Kaguya, becoming Hokage, his upbringing, he changed the whole trajectory of the series. I think I gotta add Kakashi too. Now,
okay, but you're just saying what he did. You're not saying how did he change Naruto. Oh, not how did he change the series. You're just saying what he did. It's not adding anything.
we can obviously go into the Sage of Six Paths and Kaguya actually being Otsuki members, which is valid, but they really didn't show up until like the latter parts of Naruto. So people that have had their impacts felt even when they weren't there. Hashirama's in that camp. Madara's also in that camp.
You out here picking based on power scaling, you're a fraud.
They're not power scaling. We're talking about the impact on the...
Itachi has the biggest impact on the entire story. It's not Hashirama or Madara. Madara would be a second.
He's
And
also-
Jiraiya is responsible for like 3/3 of what's going on.
Yeah, well, Jiraiya, listen, I say Jiraiya has the Midas touch. Anybody that he comes in contact with turns to gold, whether it's, Minato, Naruto, anybody. Nagato too.
Hey, listen, Hashirama's a go. I'm not saying not, but Madara would have a bigger claim on story impact than Hashirama. Hashirama's off-camera lore, bro.
All right, so we're going Jiraiya, Itachi.
He's off camera because he's dead for most of the series, and so is Madara. They only become relevant in Shippuden when they get reincarnated. Not reincarnated, kind of reincarnated, but brought back to life, reanimated.
Literally has
That's
his
what's called,
impact all
reanimated.
throughout Naruto, from beginning to end. So I would put Itachi over his brother. Yeah, Itachi got like 50% of the votes. So we
Yeah, but wouldn't you say that Danzo also has the impact because it was Danzo who told Itachi to kill the Uchiha clan?
here, chat. Itachi's next on the list. Oh, all right. Jiraiya by a landslide. So Naruto is done. I'm seeing One Piece. Let's do One Piece. I personally feel like everybody's list should have Joy Boy because he literally was the first pirate and he's one of the most powerful pirates in the history of One Piece. It sucks because we didn't get to see him on screen a lot, but the reality is the fact that Luffy's crew is called the Straw Hat Pirates goes all the way back to Joy Boy. So even
it was just the reason why it's called the Straw Hat Pirates because Luffy had a straw hat. It's like, hey, yeah, let's call it the Straw Hat Pirates. Why not? You thinking Luffy said it out of some? It was just a coincidence that the Straw Hat's actually deeper than you think. Besides that, it was nothing for Luffy. It was nothing more than just hey, I have a straw hat and I'm a pirate. So hey, look, we're the straw hat pirates, based off my freaking hat. Like nothing more than that.
You don't see Joy Boy on screen. When Luffy transformed to Gear 5, they were calling him Joy Boy. Like, that's impacts throughout the series. Yes,
We don't really know much about Joy Boy, so it really means nothing.
we love Roger and all that stuff. Cool, we can get to them later. Joy Boy's gotta be here. For One Piece, you see Joy Boy influence everywhere. Roger, Joy Boy influence. Luffy, Joy Boy influence. Even Kaido. That's what
How did Joy Boy influence Luffy? Luffy doesn't know. Luffy does not give a frick about Joy Boy. He does not care. Roger that makes sense because Roger actually knows about him and actually is willing to talk about him. Luffy does not care about Joy Boy. Just a coincidence that he's represented as Joy Boy. Not the same.
Kaido wanted. All right, so next character I'm seeing the most is Roger. I'm also seeing Dragon and Luffy. Now, if it's my
Obviously, it's Roger because obviously you put Roger there next because Roger's the reason why more pirates even chose. He's the reason why more pirates even went on the sea in the first place with the One Piece and all that crap and Laugh Tale.
pick between all the names I just mentioned, Rocks, okay, I see that. On impact on the series, I'm shocked nobody said Kuma yet, but it's okay. But here we go.
How did Kuma? I'm not that. I mean, I'm still an egghead, so maybe it's more Elbaf or whatever. But I don't see how Kuma could be there.
I think I'm gonna go with Roger. I think Roger has to be here. Literally, the opening, the opening of how many episodes? The whole reason why the series is called One Piece is because of Roger. Roger's 100% locked in. I'm just gonna write his name in. Now we have 2 spots left. If we're talking influence, Davy Jones. Now we're talking Davy Jones. Impact with Davy Jones is still felt today as well. Not just the Davy back fight.
I don't know much about Davy Jones because I guess you don't, because I never heard about Davy Jones as of yet. I'm in the middle of Egghead, so.
But the Davy clan. Oh my goodness. I think Davy Jones should be here. I'm gonna write his name down and then we'll poll for the last one. So I'm seeing Emu, that's clear. Luffy as well. Blackbeard, which makes total sense as well. All right, so don't blame me. Don't blame me, but the last pick is Emu. All right, so now we're in Bleach. A lot of you guys are saying Aizen, 100%. Honestly, Aizen should be here even faster than Ichigo. For real, for real. I'm gonna put Aizen here, one of the greatest villains in all of anime, but his influence on the series, ridiculous.
Would I say all of anime? Would I really say he's one of the greatest villains of all of anime? I'm not too sure about that.
So there's levels to this. I think Ichigo should probably be here next just because of, you know, what a lot of people say about Ichigo, and that's the fact that he is the jack of all trades of the series.
Yeah, he's everything. Which is, boy, he's Hollow, he's Fullbring, he's Soul, he's Quincy, like he niggas everything, bro.
Need Quincy powers, and I'm Ichigo, I got you. If you need Hollow powers, I got you. Soul Reaper, I got you. Fullbringer, I got you. Like, he literally connects everything. So I'm gonna write Ichigo.
Yeah, and that's fucking, I don't know, man, that's just so fucking boring. He's everything, bro, he's everything, he's part this, he's part that, he's part this, it's like, come on,
Ichigo's
man.
name down next. All right, so now Ichigo's here. Who's next up?
Wouldn't you put Rukia, since she's the one that activate Ichigo's powers in the first place?
Yamamoto and the Soul King. Also, Urahara and Yuaba. Those are the names that I'm seeing the most right now. And I feel like a lot of Urahara's grace or his hype kind of ties into like Aizen's hype as well, right? Like Urahara is kind of like a great counter to Aizen because he's also just as smart, if not smarter. You know, the Hogyoku was introduced to the series through an Urahara, so his impact is felt 100%. Urahara needs to be mentioned. Yuabak also needs to be mentioned because yes,
It's so funny how nobody's mentioning Rukia, despite the fact that she's the reason why Ichigo was able to activate his powers earlier, was because of Rukia. But I guess who cares about that, right? Who cares about Rukia?
Time, but the second time he pulled up to the Soul Society was like nothing we've ever seen before. Literally had Yamamoto packed up out of there, and really he finessed the Quincy's and made it seem like they were there to take over the entire Soul Society, and was like, hey, you know what, psych, give me your energy. Once he got up to where, you know, Squad Zero was and made his own, you know, castle there. So Yuabak is definitely something crazy, and we gotta we also have to remember what Yuabak did to the Soul King. There's only
I
two
remember, I'm not that. I'm like, I don't know.
local picks left, Yuabak and the Soul King. Yes, I just feel like Urahara should also be mentioned in here. So I'm gonna run the poll. All right, I'm gonna end the poll. All right, Urahara by a landslide, and I think it's valid. All right, next is definitely Yuabak, the Soul King. Oh, Nimaya, yeah. All right, here's what I'll do. I'm running the poll. Nimaya, the creator of the Sanpakuto. That's what I'm talking about when I say revolutionary characters. Like, Nimaya is a revolutionary character too, 100%. Nimaya, Yuabak, Soul King, and Chad. All right, a minute is up, so I'm gonna end this poll. All right, a Yuabak wins. The fact that Chad has more votes than Nimaya.
It's funny how, again, Rukia is not mentioned at all throughout his chat or throughout what he's talking about. Because again, without Rukia, Ichigo would not have activated his Soul Reaper powers like that as easily.
Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. That's crazy. So this is the Bleach Mount
Wow.
Rushmore. Let's move on to the next anime. All right.
Ugh.
Who's on the Hunter x Hunter Mount Rushmore? Netero? Yeah. You got to put the chairman in there. You have to.
What did he do that impacted it? Let's be honest here. What did Netero do?
Netero definitely deserves to be there. They don't box with Meteor without him. Straight up. I'm seeing people say Killua. Killua is a valid pick to be considered. I just want to make sure.
How you talk? Cause you clearly you're just talking about who impacted the world. How did Killua impact the world of Hunter x Hunter? You could probably argue his family, but I wouldn't say Killua himself. Oh my gosh.
Crollo? I don't know if I could give Crollo this. I don't know.
No.
Patty-san is another character should be in consideration. Also, yes, Jing Freaks 2, Meruem. All right, here's what I'm gonna do, because I think Meruem 100% needs to be here, because not only was he king of the ants, not only was he
Again, all you're saying is what this character is or what the character did. You're not talking about how the character impacted the world of Hunter x Hunter. Not talking about that. You're saying, hey, he's this, he's that, he did this, he did that.
super powerful. We get all that stuff.
No.
But he's one of the villains that really changed like the outlook on the Hunterverse in general. His friendship or whatever with Komogi was game changing. It really, really was. So I think Meruem.
How did he did? How was his relationship with Komugi game changing? You're not explaining.
Definitely needs to be here.
Garbage,
Is
man.
also a great pick too.
How is Kai a great pick? He appeared once in the beginning and didn't become relevant until the Chimera Ant arc where he died. And then he got reincarnated into a Chimera Ant and you don't get to talk about it anymore. Fuck you talking about?
Kai's impact from the moment he met going to Killua till his death, and then even after, right? Kite coming back, kind of. Why y'all saying he's Soga though? Bisky low key? Oh, Cook. Bisky high key. Hold on, I'm gonna run a poll. We have 2 spaces left. This one is tough, honestly. All right, so minute, we have Jing Freaks. Oh, let me add him real quick. Yeah, Jing Freaks.
What did Ging Freaks do besides create the video game? And that's the problem with World of Hunter x Hunter. It's not the Hunter Association is not very well explored because like okay, what's a culinary hunter? What the fuck is that? Ruins hunter that's like archaeology, whatever, sure. But a gourmet hunter, what the fuck is that? What does that do? Like
Definitely
what?
needs to be here.
Or yeah, I don't, what? Because essentially a gourmet hunter and a fucking music hunter would be like a ruin hunter because you're just finding old shit, like old recipes or old music notes or some shit. So they all fall under that umbrella of archaeology or ruin adventure, ruin hunter.
The greatest hunters ever. Outside of, you know, the Greed Island hype and all that stuff, like, he's one of the greatest hunters. I'm shocked that Patterson didn't get a lot of votes there. I'm gonna run another poll. No, somebody mentioned Aluka. And I low-key want to add Aluka on here, but I
How?
can't in good faith. Yeah, Aluka doesn't deserve to be there in the Mount Rushmore. Aluka has a lot of series-wide impact, though, but I think that's fair. Biscuit didn't win in the last poll, so I wanted to get Hisoka in there. Definitely a character that's been around a lot and is continuing to be around. Remove Jing and put Hisoka? Remove Jing? Huh? Minute is up, and Killua wins. Wow, I was not expecting... I thought Hisoka was gonna win at this rate, but now I already know that people love Killua. He's the friend that keeps going in check, but coming from the Zoldyck family and having the ability to really kind of control Nanika is crazy. Okay, so the Hunter x Hunter Mount Rushmore is now complete. We're gonna move on to the next anime that was on the list, and that is JJK. All right.
It's gonna be Gojo, Sukuna, Yuta, fucking. I'm gonna guess right now. Kenjaku, because he's the father. Well, mother correctly. He's the mother of Yuji. Well, yeah, technically. I mean, Kenjaku's a fucking parasite. But essentially, I'll say it now. It's gonna be Gojo, Sukuna, arguably Yuta, and Kenjaku. I'm gonna guess it right now. Cause after that, besides those characters, I don't know. I don't really know who else can be impactful. Honestly.
JJK's up next. Who we going with first? Oh, y'all putting out full lists already. Hold on. Wait a minute. One character at a time. All right, hold on. Sukuna and Gojo. That should be the first. That should be the first two characters on everybody's Mount Rushmore for JJK. Without question. Sukuna and Gojo have to be here. The King of Curses versus Gojo with the 6 eyes, who literally, when he was born, the balance in the verse shifted. Like, just him being there, just his existence changed the balance of power in JJK. So I'm gonna write those two names down. Now we have 2 spots left. We got the GOATs out of the way. I'm trying not to, spoil too much for people. Like, the JJK season's out, so I'm not trying to say too much.
Yeah, of course not, because you want as much people as possible.
Which is kind of
People
tough,
could your bums.
because I really want to go into these characters, but I can't say too much. I've seen people say Kenjaku. Kenjaku is definitely in the conversation.
Yes, because he is the mother of Yuji. Well, at least the parasites. If mother is Yuji. He's the reason, because without Kenjaku, Yuji would not be as strong as he is. All the extraordinary strength, all that stuff, that's because he is half cursed, cursed spirit or whatever the fuck they call him. I don't fucking care. I really, again, JJK is so fucking mid, I don't even care.
Greatest villains in the series. It's just, Sukuna's impact is second to none, but, Kenjaku literally is a mastermind as well. Not only, taking over Geto's body and just being ridiculous, but we see what happened later on in the manga. I can't, I don't know if we can go too far with it, but Kenjaku is a different level. I would also like to mention Yuta is a great mention. People are saying Toji too. Toji, again, is similar to other characters we've discussed before, where his impact was major during his arc, during his time, but then, Maki, and I see some people said Maki as well. Maki took over and basically is like Toji 2.0. So it's not like Toji's not nice, but Toji definitely had an impact on some current events. But again, like I said, Maki really took that over and brought it to like higher heights. So it's like his impact, not that it wasn't felt, but somebody took over versus everybody's still talking about Toji in present day. You feel me? So that's the only reason why I'm like, I like Toji, but I can't get him there. Maki could possibly be there. Kenjaku changed everything. Oh, someone said Itadori too. What are we even doing? Panda? Nah.
Yuji? Why? What did impact of Yuji do on the world of JJK, honestly?
I can't do that in good faith. Hikari? Ooh. I mean, we love Hikari too. Higuruma?
I don't even know who, I don't remember who Hikari even is. Again, JJK is so fucking, it's such a forgettable anime or manga. Like, I don't even remember who fucking Hikari even is.
Higuruma on this? Higuruma has one of the most broken abilities in the series, but I don't know if I can get
I don't care about his abilities. I'm talking about impact. You're just going back into power scaling. Like, come on, bro.
on this list of
Be
Mount
consistent.
Rushmore JJK. I think Yuta makes more sense as a special grade. Having Rika, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people say Yuta. I'm gonna put Yuta here for sure. Yeah, Yuta's a character whose impact is felt throughout the series as well. Like, when he's not there, the students are talking about Yuta. When Yuta pulls up, they're like, oh, you're gonna be...
I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember them talking about Yuta for like the first couple seasons. You only appeared during the culling game. I don't think he ever appeared besides then.
The next Gojo. It basically like Yuta's impact is felt throughout the series, so I think Yuta needs to be here. And then last pick. So obviously we don't have Yuji on here. I see some people mention Ui as well. Ui I kind of maybe see. I'm shocked I didn't see a Tengen yet. But yeah, Kenjaku, Yuji are two names. Maki didn't take Toji's place. His impact was felt even after he died to a degree. But again, Mount Rushmore are the top four characters. Kenjaku is who made JJK, but Yuji is the main character who finished it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Kenjaku makes sense. Yuji makes sense. Toji changed the story, Rob. Yes, nobody's saying Toji did not change the story. He 100% changed the story. Toji made Gojo, bro. Made is crazy. Made is crazy. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I love Toji too, but I can't go that far. Gojo was lit from birth. If you want to go into the manga or you want to watch the anime, like from the moment Gojo was born and the 6 eyes popped out, he was lit already. Kenjaku,
Yeah, because he's the only person that was born with infinity and 6 eyes.
or Mahito. I would put Kenjaku before Mahito, but let's do this. Yeah, at least somebody said Tengen. I'm like, where's Tengen at? Tengen needs to be in here. I see some people saying Yuki too. Yuki to me is goated, but see, I can't even say too much. But her moment wasn't long enough for me, is what I'll say. Yuji, Tengen, Kenjaku 100%, and one more.
Well, how did she impact shit? She just fought and then died. What did she impact? Let's be honest here, buddy.
For the poll. Yes, Itadori's on here already, and then I'll add Toji. Yes, Toji. That's what it was. All right, so you guys vote for who's last on this list. And Kenjaku wins with 50%.
Obviously.
Valid. This one I kind of expected. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay. Attack on Titan, Mount Rushmore. Who's up first? First name I'm seeing the most.
Okay, I'll do this easily. Eren, Mikasa, I'll put, yeah, so Ymir, the slave one, Mikasa, Eren, maybe Owen, but I'll probably say Grisha. It's either Grisha, yeah, I'll probably say I'll say Grisha. Yeah, I'll say Grisha, so yeah, it would be Ymir, Fritz, the slave, Mikasa, Eren, and Grisha. I don't see anyone else impacting the story like that. Maybe you can put in Erwin to slide in, but in the overall grand scheme of the narrative, it would be those 4.
I'm seeing Eren and I'm seeing Erwin. I get it. We all love Erwin. Let me stay with Eren for a second here. Because
the story begins because of him. Everything that happens throughout the whole story, it happens because of him.
We have to move carefully. There's a lot of moving parts. But Eren 100% needs a spot here. Revolutionary, game-changing, that's literally Eren. I'm going to flip the world on its head. Now, the only counter argument to that is that Eren technically could see the future. Kind of. So that's the
He can.
only counter argument to
No,
it.
kind of. He can.
But the rumbling, yo, come on. Here we go. So Eren is on the list. Erwin, all right, Levi and Grisha. All right, before Eren, you got to go Ymir. Ymir too. Oh, yeah. Ymir. Ymir has to be here. Ymir is literally, yes, the first Titan. Ymir does need a spot.
And again, I don't care about her being the first Titan. I care about what she did in the first story. And again, the whole narrative is essentially her trying to get over the king.
I would put Ymir even over King Fritz personally. I would put Ymir's literally not Ymir, really. Hold on, because this one is tough. I definitely want to consider Erwin, but there is a knock I have on Erwin just a little bit. But let me put Ymir. I think Ymir has to be here. So now we have Ymir. Can't forget Reiner. Not that I forgot him, but Pastor Nick. Yo, why is Pastor Nick? Okay, somebody mentioned Armin, and Armin is the reason why I kind of want to table Erwin just for a second. Levi is somebody that needs to be in the conversation. Listen, we held the poll. Levi's in the situation for sure. All right, Levi is one of the most goated of the Ackerman. I mean, we gotta consider. Oh, we only have 2 spots left. All right, Pastor Nick is what the people want. Army needs to be there.
Nigga, we know fucking 4 Ackerman people. Well, we know what? Kenny, Mikasa, Levi, and that's pretty much it. Besides that, most of them are pretty much irrelevant nobodies. Kenny's uncle, who's not named. Mikasa's father, who's not named. I think Levi's mom was named Kucho, but then again, she died, and we never got anything about her. And again, if it's oh, but look at this subliminal. No, I'm not looking at any subliminal material. Fuck that.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna have to run a poll for this. This is Mikasa.
you have to say Mikasa, because she's the reason why fucking Ymir got over her shit. You have to put in Mikasa. Oh my goodness.
Not over Levi. Mikasa, I can't put Mikasa.
You're such a fucking listen. I don't like AOT, but you have to put her in there. Without her, the whole Titan curse would not have fucking. Without her, the Titan curse would not have stopped. She's the reason why it stopped because hey, she killed Eren, which allowed Ymir to get over King Fritz. Wow, man, fucking idiots. Really is.
Over Levi. You can talk about fighting, but
I don't care about fight. I'm talking about the story. The story overall ends. The whole Titan curse ends because of Mikasa. You cannot deny that fact.
Levi is definitely revolutionary on the story.
On what merit, buddy? On what merit is Levi revolutionary? On what? He's the strongest soldier. Big whoop. The Silver is still in the shitter. Shut up.
Yeah, this is
He didn't
tough.
do shit.
Zeke to Zeke. Yeah. Oh man. Erwin. All right, hold on. We running a poll. And yeah, Levi won. Okay, so Levi is next on the list. As we talked about before, Levi Ackerman is one of the best in the whole Ackerman family.
I don't care. We only know like 3 members. Half the other members are nobodies. And 1/3 of them are fucking unnamed. I don't care about the Ackerman family. We barely know anything about the Ackerman family. Who gives a shit?
Okay, a minute is up. I'm going to end the poll. And Armin finishes it out over Erwin. So this
is such a little issue been Eren, Ymir, Mikasa, and fucking Grisha. Fucking idiots.
is the AOT
People are idiots,
Mount
man.
Rushmore. My hero. My hero's up next. Okay.
Okay, let's do my hero. One Fall. No, not One Fall. What's the fuck? I forgot the first user's name. I don't care about Yurichi. I think it's the first user's name. All for One, Yurichi, Deku, and fucking All Might. Easy. Next.
My hero.
Next. That's all we need to know.
So the first and obvious answer, there's no My Hero Academia without All Might. All Might 100%. Now, I think we also have to add Midoriya. This is one of those series where the main character definitely does make the Mount Rushmore. Deku has to be here because he took that quirk to newer heights. He literally had all the vestiges.
No. And cause that makes no sense. Oh, no previous users got all the messages and shit like that, and then all of a sudden Deku gets it. Hey, he gets to act with all his power. That makes no fucking sense. That was so stupid. One of the worst things in My Hero when he got all the multiple quirks. So stupid.
Different quirks, abilities added to what he had. He took it to another level. And
yeah, because he's the only one that had it. Nobody else previously from Deku had the multiple quirks. Who cares?
The impossible. I'm gonna write Deku here. All right, Deku is here. Eri, ooh, okay. So Brendo said the last two should be All for One and Shigaraki. Somebody said I can count All for One and Shigaraki as one. They're kind of different. So I would separate them. My only thing, I feel like All for One needs to be here too, but I feel like it's weird if we're thinking My Hero verse and we go the entire video without putting somebody from the Todoroki family in here.
Who? Who would you put there? What did Dobby do that impacted that impacted shit? What did Denver do that impacted shit? And let's go back here. They're
kind of different. So I would separate them. My only thing, I feel like All for One needs to be here too, but I feel like it's weird if we're thinking My Hero verse and we go the entire video without putting somebody from the Todoroki family.
Let's be honest here. Natsuo, Fuyumi, which is these two. Natsuo, Fuyumi, and Rei did nothing. They did nothing that impacted the world of My Hero. So you got either Shoto, which I don't think so, cut him out. So you basically just got Endeavor and Dobby. That's the only people you got that you could arguably put on that Mount Rushmore. I can't see you putting anyone else on that Rushmore. Not even Shoto. So don't talk about that.
Now, whether you believe it's Endeavor or Shoto, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of tough. I just feel like their influence on the story is also massive because Endeavor was the number 2 to All Might being number 1, and then once
I
All
don't
Might...
care about him. I don't care about his rank. Wow, man. This is just this bunch of stupid power scaling bullshit. I don't care.
stepped down, Endeavor took over, and his family's influence is felt throughout the
No, it's Endeavor's influence. Nobody knows. Nobody know. None of the public know. Like half these motherfuckers. No, you only say Endeavor. You can't make an argument for Natsuo. You can't, because he's not a character. Natsuo is irrelevant. Fuyumi irrelevant. Rei, what? Oh, he's how Todoroki got his scar, and that's it. That's all you need to know. Besides that, she's irrelevant. So you got Darby, Shoto, and Endeavor. That's all you got. That's the only people you can make. Oh, you can't even say Shoto. You can't even say Shoto. So you can literally, I'll only agree if you only make an argument for Endeavor. I can't see you make an argument for any other of the family members. Because half these motherfuckers are, who cares about them?
entire series. Whether it's Dabi or Shoto, Todoroki. Nah, Todoroki, none of them make it? Get Shoto out of here?
No, I would only say Endeavor. You can only make an argument for Endeavor, bro, because it was established that he was a number 2 hero. Besides that, I don't really know what you can say about Shoto.
Talking about the Todoroki family influence on the story. The influence of the Todoroki family on the story is huge. It goes from their war with All For One and Shigaraki to all the way back to when Endeavor literally was like, yo, I'm gonna manufacture a child.
That's still Endeavor. That's not Todoroki family as a whole. That is Endeavor. So again, you can't say Todoroki family as a whole. No, it's Endeavor. Because they had nothing to do with the story. Besides giving besides giving Shoto his recognizable scar, there is nothing you need to know about Rei. There is nothing you need to know about Fuyumi. Because she's a kindergarten teacher and that's it. Natsuo, I don't know what the fuck he does. I think he's a college student. But again, who cares? So again, Dabi, I don't even know what the fuck happened to Dabi. He was just seen as a regular villain. That was nothing. What? You can maybe say Dobby because hey, it's kind of exposing the. Yeah, I would argue it's more in Dobby than Shoto. I would say Dobby because when Dobby revealed that he was the son of Endeavor, it made the public like, holy shit, like Endeavor's a really massive piece of shit, evidenced by his first son. So, I would even argue that Dabi made a bigger impact on the grand scheme of the story than fucking Shoto. But again, all that stems from Endeavor. Because if it wasn't for Endeavor, Toya wouldn't be Dabi. So again, you can't make an argument for the Todoroki family as a whole. You go and make an argument for Endeavor.
Take down All Might one day. I gotta make somebody that can not worry about overheating. But okay, let me add All For One.
But that is all Endeavor. Because Rei had literally nothing, no say into it. Because their marriage was arranged, if I remember correctly.
Just put All For One and Shigaraki. Shigaraki for
Just
me.
put Shigaraki, because again, if it wasn't for Shigaraki, because his decay really like, oh shit, like oh shit, like you have to put Shigaraki there.
He is a little bit tougher. Stain has more influence on the story than any of the Todorokis. Shigaraki.
What are you talking about? What does Stain do? All these heroes are fought, then get imprisoned, and you don't see him again until the final arc where he becomes a hindrance and then dies. And essentially nobody remembers him anymore after in the epilogue. So fuck you talking about? Stain did nothing.
Needs to be the last one. Shigaraki's up there.
It's Shigaraki. You can't argue for anyone else than Shigaraki. It has to be him. Fucking Stars and Stripes say like, oh shit, this nigga a big threat. Like you had to have fucking a couple of heroes from the US to come and help him. Well, I can't even say a couple because you had one hero from the US. You had the US heroes to come out and fucking come out at Shigaraki. He's just a big threat with him with his decay on all these other things. You have to put Shigaraki there, or else he's just fucking stupid.
We're talking about story influence. It has to be All For One and Shigaraki hands
It
down.
has to be
All right.
Shigaraki.
She's saying Shigaraki.
Like who else could it be?
Academia, Mount Rushmore.
And it's so funny because all four of them have something to do with One For All or All For One.
Then All Might, Deku, All For One, Shigaraki. All right. Black Clover.
Black Clover, Asta, yeah, Asta, William Vengeance, and I can't think of it. I can't think of the fourth one. Yeah, I can't think of the fourth one.
Some people are saying Julius or Julius Novachrono. Julius could be in here, but the manga makes it a little tough. And I'm not, fully manga caught up, but I know a little bit here and there. Yeah, I think Lumiere needs to be here first. First and foremost.
Oh yeah, I
First...
forgot about him. Holy shit, because he was just in one arc and then that's it. I've completely forgot about him.
Wizard King. So I think Lumiere needs to be here first. Nah, bro, Yami over Lumiere in terms of what? If you want to say Yami's a stronger fighter and stuff like.
You have to put Asta. You have to put Asta because he has anti-magic. He just fucks up everything. He fucks up the whole power system. You have to put Asta there.
Yeah, but don't matter. Lumiere did not have more impact than Yami. Yami could be here too, but I mean, you can make a case Lumiere was not only a scientific mind, he was a diplomat to the elves and a royal. You said where I was gonna go. A lot of their cooperation with the elves was due to Lumiere. People are mentioning Yami, but also Mario Leona is in that same combo. Impact of the story and power-wise. So it's not.
I don't care in power, because you're not talking about power. You're talking about impact of the story by what they did to change about the world. Not fights. Now you combining the two.
Easy. What I can say is Lumiere starting the trend of the Wizard Kings is valid. Like he has to be. Like there's no. Asta has nothing to chase without Lumiere. Straight up. Lumiere being here makes no sense. Not gonna lie. He is a tech first wizard. He almost has zero impact on the story. What? I don't know. I disagree. But if you guys think I should remove Lumiere, I could take him off. Y'all saying Yami impacts the story more. Who's saying Yami can't be on the list? Just because Lumiere is on the story, Yami can't be here? Lumiere is like Roger in my opinion, and Roger made the One Piece list. I mean, I get what you're saying since he's like the Hashirama of Black Clover due to being the first, but he just doesn't have that much impact like directly from what we've seen. So a lot of y'all
he has because I remember in the one of the arcs he gets reincarnated. I think it was the Alpha arc when he got like not reincarnated, reanimated. Not reincarnated, it was reanimated. I keep on complaining, I keep on mixing it too, but he gets reanimated and he helps out. So Lumiere did do stuff. He did impact the story, obviously not directly, but his impact is there. He killed the massive demon, so we're gonna forget about that.
Y'all are saying take Lumiere out, so let's remove Lumiere for now.
Oh my goodness, people are idiots.
We'll put Yami. Yami is now here, and Yami being here is valid. And this is where it kind of makes it tough because Yami's greatness as a fighter and even
okay, then you have to put in Julius. You have to put in Vengeance, William Vengeance, because the Tree of Cliff-Off, you need someone with World Tree magic and you need someone with Dark magic. That's how you make the tree. That's how you activate. If I remember correctly, that's how you activate the Tree of Cliff-Off in the Black Clover. You need someone with World Tree magic and Dark magic. So by that logic, we should put in William.
Story-wise is literally felt everywhere. Like Black Bulls were kind of looked down upon in Clover Kingdom, and really like Yami and Asta are the ones that flipped the script and made them become goats. My
issue is that it's funny how they were seen as bad until all of a sudden Asta comes through. You could like it would have made sense. Like, okay, Black Bulls. Look, yeah, the captain's strong. But everyone else is a bum. You could have put that, but no, the whole team is just bad or outcast. All of a sudden, Oscar comes in, or everyone switch up their opinions and shit. It's so stupid. It's
issue
very
with
dumb when
putting
you really
Yami
think
here
about it.
is now I feel like it's weird to put Yami here and not have Mario Leona here. I feel like
You have to. You're not. Why is everyone forgetting you have to put in fucking William Vengeance? You have to put him in there. He is one of the main reasons. I'm pretty sure he's one of the main reasons why the Elf arc even happens. You have to put in William in there. Nobody's talking about him.
weird because Mario Leona on the flip side of the coin literally was the captain of the Royal Knights. Yami trained with Mario Leona. Mario Leona is just beyond Yami. That's where I'm kind of like, if we put Yami here and if we take off Lemire,
I'm sorry, but Mario Leona is just strong. Okay, she trained Yami. In what specifically? She's just strong. She's cool, yeah, but she's just strong.
put Yami. This list cannot stand without Mario Leona. It can't. It literally it would make no sense.
It's funny how I'm seeing everyone in the chat. I'm seeing what nobody's talking about William, which is just wow.
Of all the hype that you give to Yami, Mario Leona pretty much has done the same. He does fear her as facts. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna write Mario Leona. And
sure, whatever. Sure. She's cool. She's a cool character, but besides that, what else?
with 2 spots left, it's I'm seeing Asta, Julius. Most valid list in my opinion is Lemire, Yami, Mario Leona, and Asta. That's what I'm thinking. But all right, for this one, I'll probably have to end up taking the top 2 because we're all kind of saying the same names, but it's 4 names. Now, Asta is a surefire pick. I don't think there's any debate on Asta being here. He's another character that also flipped the script from the moment he tried out for, the Black Bulls or just to become a Magic Knight. His grimoire was different. He had no magic. He was anti-magic. And obviously there are other characters in the series that have devils, but let's call it what it is. Asta literally changed the game in every single fight, everything. He changed the game. 1 minute is up. And Asta by a landslide. 2/3 of the vote went to Asta. 100% agree here. Now, it looks like Julius got 2nd place, so I'm going to put Julius.
It is crazy how nobody's talking about William. Nobody. Because again, the Tree of Cliffoff, you need William to activate it. You need Yami. Yami is already there. But you're not, again, you're so dumb, man. People are so dumb. Because in order for the Tree of Cloth to activate, you need someone of World Tree Magic, and you need someone of fucking Dark Magic.
Here, Lemire only getting 7%, and Yuno only getting 2. Sheesh. Okay, so we're gonna do the waifu one next. The wife.
Well, who did he put?
Okay, so
who did he put? Was it Yuno?
Getting 7%, and Yuno only getting 2. Sheesh.
Oh, Julius. I don't know why Mario Leona's there. Like, who really cares?
Okay, so we're gonna do the waifu one next. The waifu
Terrible.
Mount Rushmore. This is what y'all wanted. All right, I saw Nico Robin. I saw Andrew. You had your.
It'll be. It's gonna be Robin. Maybe Bulma. Possibly Hinata. And I don't even fucking know. I really don't care.
Your list. Hold on, Andrew. I got you right now. Yoruichi. W. That's who I had. I felt like Yoruichi should definitely be.
And her too. So this is my big guess. It's gonna be Robin, Yoruichi, Bulma, and Hinata.
Here. Bulma, Usagi, and Esdeath. Ooh, variety here. Okay, Esdeath for sure. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of people saying Yoruichi. I'm gonna add Yoruichi because Yoruichi was my first pick. After Yoruichi, Urza Scarlet. That's valid. Yeah, I feel like for these, I'm gonna have to. You gotta have Rias and Urza Scarlet. I mean, they're basically like close character designs. Nico Robin, Bulma. Let's do the.
Not really. besides the red hair, there's nothing else besides the red hair and fair skin. What else you really have? Whatever, man. Who
Urza
cares?
Scarlet versus Rias Gremory. All right, I think Urza's probably gonna win this just because Urza's literally like the most popular character in Fairy Tail. This is looking bad, y'all. This is looking bad. See, I told you I felt like Urza Scarlet was going to win because Urza's the most popular character in Fairy Tail. Big Mom. Oh, Prime Big Mom. Yo, that's mad funny. It went from Big Mom to Prime Big Mom. I'm gonna have to run a poll for the next one. There's so many I'm seeing. Nico Robin. I guess I'll throw Prime Big Mom. Let's just do a One Piece one, so we get the One Piece character in, because you guys named a lot of One Piece characters.
Yeah, because obviously, because you're a big One Piece fan, and your fans are too, idiot. That's why you're obviously gonna name fucking. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, man. Your Mount Rushmore freaking takes suck.
Nami. I saw a lot of Nami too. All right, and then I also saw Boa. So we'll do a One Piece slot as a way to narrow it down. Now, who do I think is going to win this?
Yeah, I'm gonna narrow down all of anime to just one series. I'm gonna narrow decades of anime down all to one series. Wow.
Probably Nico Robin. As I expected, Nico Robin clears. Listen, I told y'all what was going on. I already knew. Everybody loves Robin. All right, for the last spot. All right, Tsunade clears. No debate.
Yeah, I forgot.
Okay. This is a great list. You have Yoruichi,
Just a bunch of shonen
Urza
shit.
Scarlet, Nico Robin, and Tsunade. This is a great list. So Demon Slayer won. So we're gonna.
Okay, Demon Slayer. You're gonna have Yoriichi, Tanjiro, Muzan, Kokushibo. Done. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's be honest. Let's be honest here. Maybe you can put in Nezuko. I'm not even too sure though.
Do Demon Slayer. Okay. Yoruichi, 100%. Yoruichi got to be here. I think that goes without saying, right? Yoruichi is literally like the GOAT, to the point where Kokushiba was literally modeled after him. So Muzan too. Yeah.
Yeah, he's modeled after him because he's the fucking twin brother, dumb shit. He's modeled after him, yeah, because he is literally the twin brother of Yoruichi. Fucking idiot.
I didn't even. Muzan's got to be there. Muzan's like the GOAT demon. Demon Slayer does not move without Muzan. Ubuyashiki, I would want to add him, but I can see why people wouldn't want to have him here. So like, yeah.
Because he's so irrelevant. He shows up, he shows up a couple times and then he dies. Doesn't really impact shit, to be honest.
Yoruichi, Muzan, gotta be there. Gyu is the reason Tanjiro is a demon slayer. True, but in a way, you can also kind of say Muzan.
Okay, but that logic, you can also say Irokudaki, because Irokudaki trained Tanjiro to be where he be at. Oh yeah, you can also say Sabito and Makima as well, but that fucking logic.
Made him a slayer. Yeah, he saved Tanjiro and made him a slayer. Yeah, Gyu could be here somewhat, but over.
Gyu didn't make him a slayer. The only reason that he didn't not like he trained Tanjiro. You can only by that logic say fucking Yorokodaki made him a fucking demon slayer, or Sabito, or fucking any other of the fucking ghost children.
Over Ubuyashiki. Now somebody said Nezuko. Now if we're talking about game changers in Demon Slayer, Nezuko I feel like should be on the Mount Rushmore. A demon that can be in the sun. Nezuko is late game, but that's literally the whole reason why Muzan was turning people into demons and doing all these things was to find a Nezuko. So like Nezuko.
Yeah, and how did a Nezuko become a Nezuko? Because that wasn't actually answered in the story proper. Why is Nezuko walking the sun? There's no answer to that.
I feel like 100% needs to be here. Like I wouldn't even question it. All right, a lot of y'all are saying, yeah, Nezuko, yeah, everything revolved around Nezuko. Yeah, Nezuko's a great pick. All right, we have one more pick left.
Nezuko is a plot device. That's what she is. She's not a character. She's just a plot device. That's all she is.
And I'm seeing Tanjiro, who
You have to put in Tanjiro because the fucking the demon slayer, the demons versus the slayer shit did not fucking, the tables weren't turning until Tanjiro came in. You have to fucking put in Tanjiro.
was a massive upgrade for the Demon Slayer Corps, right? Him joining.
None of the upper moons died until Tanjiro joined the fucking core. I don't see how you cannot add Tanjiro.
Massive upgrade. I'm seeing Zenitsu too.
Nope.
Zenitsu had a lot of character development.
I don't care about character development. I'm talking about you dumbass talking about impact. What impact does fucking Zenitsu have? I don't care about Zenitsu. He sucks.
And him taking down his rival
Don't care.
was huge.
That's not impact to the story, so I don't care. So shut up.
Zenitsu had a huge upgrade. Ubuyashiki, yes. Bearded Angel, you said it. Ubuyashiki is the brains behind everyone. What are we doing? Now, some people might say, well, since Ubuyashiki wasn't able to move, he was kind of on his deathbed the entire series, and then when he died, you know, the Hashira had to take over. Some people may use that as a way to condemn him, right? But I think you also have to give credit to the foundation, or just, you know, the creation of the Demon Slayer Corps. There's none of that without Ubuyashiki. So, Akaza. I mean, Akaza is definitely a character that we love, but he has one of the greatest stories. But does he change Demon Slayer if he's removed? I don't think he changes Demon Slayer if he's like removed. Demon Slayer is still gonna be Demon Slayer. All right, y'all said Gyu. I mean, Zenitsu is also kind of a character where I'm like, his character development was great, but
I don't care about his character development. What development did freaking he have? He had like little to none.
all right, let's run this poll. Now, impact on the story. My guess from this poll is it's probably going to end up being either Tanjiro or Ubuyashiki. I'll be shocked if Akaza wins. And again, we love his character. His backstory was amazing. Arguably the best backstory in all of Demon Slayer. But like, for the entire anime, I mean, we're not really.
I would say the best written character overall is Kokushibo. You can't argue for anybody else than Kokushibo.
About Akaza until he's there. You know, there are characters that are not there that we're still thinking about. You know, Muzan's one of them. Yorichi is one of them. A character that's not there that we're still thinking about. Take off Nezuko and put Tanjiro and Gyu. Nezuko is more important than both of them. To the story of Demon Slayer, Nezuko is more important than both of them. All right, a minute is up and Tanjiro wins 100%. So we have the Demon Slayer Mount Rushmore: Yorichi, Muzan, Nezuko, and Tanjiro. Tanjiro won. I know a lot of people are looking and saying that, you know, Ubuyashiki got snubbed. It could really go either way. Like I said, I felt like it was gonna be those two. Tanjiro's
Yeah, I would not put. I don't even care about his name anymore, cause he was a nobody character. Let's see here. News reporter. Let's see here. How a hot dog cost a man his freedom. Damn. Yeah, her song got fucking banned for a week for calling people a Zionist pig. Let's see here. Okay, let's see this shit. How did the CNN host?
Don, the indictment says you acknowledged children were afraid that parents couldn't get to their children. People thought this was a church shooting. Do you think you should have left?
Good question, yes.
Don, the indictment says that you protected the address. You protected the element of surprise. You kissed the organizer on camera. Do you consider yourself a participant or a journalist?
We're on your side, Don.
Participating by saying don't
We got your back, Don.
I want to thank everybody for their support. It truly means the world to me. I have no idea what's going on because obviously I haven't seen anything. I have spent my entire career covering the news. I will not stop now. In fact, there is no more important time than right now, this very moment, for a free and independent media that shines a light on the truth and holds those in power accountable. Again, I will not stop now. I will not stop ever. Last night, the DOJ sent a team of federal agents to arrest me in the middle of the night for something that I'd been doing for the last 30 years, and that is covering the news. The First Amendment of the Constitution protects that work for me and for countless of other journalists.
But I'm going to start with an unpopular opinion, and that is calling Don Lemon a journalist is like calling AOC a free market capitalist. He is an activist. Look at his YouTube page. Here's a couple of titles of recent videos. 1, this is how to deal with ICE goons. 2, the viral MAGA idiot. 3, Don goes off on MAGA and
So
ICE.
is it your
This
position
is someone
that
who is not a
anybody
journalist. He is an activist.
Is it your position that anybody who expresses opinions is not a journalist?
Well,
is
even
that
if
your
he
position?
is, even if you
no,
agree,
I mean,
hold on.
well, let's deal
Even
with
if he-
the accusation that you're making that he is not a
I think
journalist.
he
It's
shed the
important
veneer of being a
because,
journalist a
because
long
we
time
have
ago.
in the press a lot of different kinds of journalists. The Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the New York Post, they've got editorial boards where people are expressing opinions all the time. They're not journalists?
No, because who cares? Because usually you have actual journalists and then you have the opinionators in that section. I wouldn't say journalists can dish out their opinions. Plus just lay out the facts, not lay out opinions. I wouldn't call them journalists. Because at that point, if you think just talking about opinions is make you a journalist, you can argue that anyone could be you could argue that everybody's a fucking journalist as long as you put on an opinion out there. So I don't think opinions would make you a journalist. That's not what makes people journalists.
And is not a journalist.
But why?
But
Is
if
it because
you
he's
think,
expressed?
if you,
Is it because in his
listen,
view,
if you,
in your view,
if
he's
you believe that
expressing
he
an
is,
opinion?
if you believe that he is a journalist,
But why?
I still think that
Journalists do not express opinions. They express facts. That's what a journalist does. Because if you think opinions that what matters, if you think opinions can also be opinions make a journalist, then anyone could be a fucking journalist. No, opinions don't. Not when you're a journalist, you're not supposed to make opinions. Simple as that.
he is wrong in this
But
instance.
Pete, but you're not saying
I just don't. I think he's an activist.
Well, but you just noticed.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to continue our coverage of the mainstream liberal media freak out over Don Lemon getting arrested, okay? Everybody in the mainstream liberal media is currently losing their minds over Don Lemon being held accountable, not for journalism, but for activism. And when you understand that, you understand why the so-called journalists in the mainstream liberal media are losing their minds. It's because this is a mask-off moment. They're not journalists. They're activists, right? And that's what I want to talk about here in this video because, again, when you take a step back and you realize why these people are upset, it really shows you how the game is rigged, right? And what these people feel like their jobs are, right? And they're trying to boo-hoo, whine, and cry, First Amendment, freedom of speech, when the charges against Don Lemon from the DOJ don't really have as much to do with his speech outside of what he admitted on camera. More so than it has to do with his actions, okay, that contributed to the First Amendment rights of the worshipers of that church being violated. Now, they don't want you to understand that. They don't want you to know that because basically they're trying to rig the outcome of the trial, if it gets to trial, ahead of time, right? And I believe that is what's happening here. So we got to talk about it as Don Lemonade has been released on bail, okay? And now conservatives have the task of schooling the media, educating the media on exactly what Don Lemon
is being charged with.
But you just know it's not a reason.
When he's in the church and he's cheering them on. And he's saying, this is what you do. This is what you do. You have to make people uncomfortable.
That was his interpretation of what they were doing.
He was pointing out that people were scared and afraid, and
That's
practically
observing. That's what journalists do.
lap.
They observe.
No, he was cheering it on.
How was he cheering it on?
This is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution, when you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the Civil Rights Movement was about, the Civil Rights Movement was about these very kinds of protests. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, is to make uncomfortable. And that's what they're doing. And that's what I believe when I say everyone has to be willing to sacrifice something. You have to make people uncomfortable in these times. If you see how
and he just said it. Just they make people uncomfortable. He said that.
Comfortable people uncomfortably.
If he's pointing out what's happening right in front of his face.
These people are scared and afraid, and that's why
Were they not?
Protest.
He's interpreting what the protesters were doing.
How is he cheering it on when he's telling you what's happening? That's part of what we do.
Did you see the parts where he was?
He also told them,
Did you see the parts where he was interviewing, where he was interviewing the parishioners? Did you see those parts?
Yeah, and I also saw when the pastor asked him to leave, and he refused to leave for 7 minutes.
I didn't see a single moment where Don Lemon conspired with the others to further this crime. He was there reporting the entire time.
Advance.
So how did he further that?
He admitted that he knew about it.
That has nothing to do with
realize that journalists are often told in advance about protests? That's what happens.
So if you know someone is going to be shot and killed and you go to cover it, you're not complicit.
Well, hold on.
If you cover it,
hold on.
Canberra, yes.
Murder and protests are not
the president just arrested 2 journalists. Now I think that he's almost in double down mode. I thought he was in de-escalate mode. Now he's having journalists arrested.
Well, he arrested journalists for committing crimes and then filming themselves committing crimes and then talking and admitting on camera to committing those crimes. So, you know, just because you say you're a journalist doesn't mean he violated the FACE Act in 18 U.S. Code Section 241, among others.
You think he used force? Yeah, well, look, just because you know the number of the statute, bravo, you probably know the acronym.
I just read the
also,
indictment.
But they also want to throw the Ku Klux Klan Act after him. The indictment, as a lawyer, let me tell you, not an impressive document. And you should read
the 2
into
lawyers
why
you
that
just
felony
had on,
complaint
Chris,
that they tried originally got signed. Well, no, they're worried. They're worried about the application. They're worried about the application.
They like Don Lemon.
How did Don Lemon or Georgia Fort use force or intimidation? How did they use force or intimidation? Fundamental part of the mens rea of that statute. How?
Chris, I think it's laudable that you want to defend your friend. Don Lemon said on camera that the purpose of the event that he was actively participating in was to traumatize people. And he said that is good. That is what that is for. He went in there. He admitted on camera. You're believing the woman who organized it for some reason. You're not believing Don Lemon, your own friend. He said that he knew a secret. He knew about what they were doing in advance. He wouldn't say it on camera. He served coffee to his fellow activists in there. He violated the FACE Act. He conspired against rights. And this is a very important point. You cannot claim First Amendment protections while you actively violate the First Amendment rights of others. My friend, Chris Bell, his wife, Joan Bell, was in prison for 27 months over this for an abortion clinic.
Because apparently the liberal media journalists who are so passionate about Don Lemon's innocence.
Yeah, this is like gaming journalist. These people, this is why females in gaming are bad and shit like that. Yeah, it's those air quote journalists.
We're not passionate enough to actually read the indictment, which resulted in an embarrassing fact check that happened when Abby Phillip tried to false fact check a conservative onset, which is what she does all the time, just to be later fact checked on her false fact check. Take a look.
The question is he a protester or a journalist? And the indictment obviously suggested that he posted himself at the main door. He prevented people from exiting, but ultimately
No, it does not say that.
The indictment
it says that protesters did that. It names the other people. It did not say that Don did that.
Look, I just want to respond because you accused me of mischaracterizing the indictment. This is actually a quote from the indictment that Lemon posted himself at the main door of the church where he confronted some congregants and physically obstructed them as they tried to exit, challenging them with facts about U.S. immigration policy. So that is what the indictment says. I'm not stating whether I agree with that, but that's what the indictment says. So, look,
they also characterized him as intimidating a pastor who he was calmly interviewing. So I think we also have to, the characterization of him conducting journalism is also something to be questioned.
And because they didn't read the indictment, they have to fall back on the good old race card, right? Which is what they rely on when they don't really understand the facts. They don't really understand what they're talking about. They just want to defend Don Lemon, right? And pretend as if he did absolutely nothing wrong, even though he recorded himself committing crimes and it basically admitted to helping conspire to carry out the crime as well, too, on camera. But according to woke black women wearing blonde wigs, this is racism.
We need to remind ourselves of the racial element of this. There is a reason why I think a reason why Donald Trump not only picked independent journalists, but black journalists in particular.
Okay, what about, okay, were those independent journalists black as well? Because if those independent journalists were white, then that means then your whole racial argument falls apart, doesn't it?
Clearly, we know there's no love lost between Don Lemon and Donald Trump, that he's been very critical of the president. The president they've gone back and forth. But if we go back and undo all the layers of all of this, it was black journalists that were really at the forefront of calling Donald Trump out, from the birtherism movement throughout a lot of the things that they saw early before the rest of the press really picked up on some of the things that concerned a lot of black journalists. Hello, me, who also called out Donald Trump in 2017. And the reason why I think he picked these particular journalists is being independent. You don't have the backing of a CNN. You don't have the backing of a big network. The other part of it, too, is that if you can make them the face of this issue that is happening in Minneapolis, we know that given some of the racial issues that we have in this country, it is likely to have a lot less sympathy because they are journalists, one, and people hate the press, and two, because they're black. And so I do think that that's an important part of this.
Yeah, but you're not. What about, okay? Were those independent journalists black? Yes or no? Because you're going through from, this is basically just racial arguments. So again, are they black? Yes or no? If the independent journalists are not black, then again, your race thing falls apart.
Given the president's own language when it comes to anti-DEI and making black people the face of woke, and all that we've heard from this administration, all of this is combined together and meant to drum up a certain sentiment against these journalists so that people are supporting their own rights being eroded because of who they think it's happening to.
Yeah. So par for the course when it comes to the low IQ of Jemele Hill, who has the inability to provide any substance to a conversation outside of a racial narrative, right? I mean, that's what that was right there, okay? Notice how none of these people are actually engaging with the legal question that the DOJ is trying to put forth, which is whether or not Don Lemon conspired with these other protesters to interfere with the rights of those worshipers.
Were they a part of a conversation where they had advanced knowledge of your intentions for the protest? Were they involved in the coordination, planning, or execution of any of it?
So as I said in the beginning, neither Don nor Georgia are activists, protesters, or organizers in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
So as I said during the video, it was a clandestine operation, which meant no one other than the organizers had any information about where we were even going. I gave out the address right before we left, and I told them I'm not answering any more questions. When we get there, you'll see where we are. They had no details. They didn't know about David Easterwood. They didn't know what was going to happen once we actually got to the location. Don and Georgia had no advanced knowledge. They had to show up like everyone else at the Cub Foods parking lot, which was on the flyer, and learn the address at the last second before we all got in our vehicles and drove there. So they did what journalists do, which is to document.
Flashback. Into Minneapolis a little bit ago and did some reconnaissance on the ground, speaking to an organization there that's gearing up for resistance and protest. I've been pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together. Diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we're like, wait a minute, which operation are we at? And as it turns out, because we were like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? Saw the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up. And it's Takima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, I can't tell you where. So they're getting the operation together. Again, this is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show. There are for this reason, it may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here. So that is what I could say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go.
Amazing, incredible. It's almost as if these people don't know that video evidence exists on the internet that contradicts everything that they're saying, right? I think it's clear and obvious that Don Lemon absolutely knew exactly what they were going to do. And also, as you saw in that video, he went out of his way to conceal what they were about to do, okay? Now, again, people got to understand that the conspiracy against rights charge from the DOJ is trying to prove, one, that there was an agreement between two or more people. I think it's very obvious that there was an agreement that Don Lemon was going to join them in what they're about to do. The object of the agreement was to interfere with a federal right, okay? Right now, we're talking about the First Amendment right to worship, okay? This is what they were interfering with, and we know this because they chose to go in the middle of a service, right? The whole point was to interfere with their right to worship.
Is a pastor here, and he also serves as the director of the field office for ICE in St. Paul. How? David Easterwood.
Are you sure that he's a...
Yes, City Church, yes. And that's why we're here, demanding justice for Renee Good and letting them know that this will not stand. They cannot pretend to be a house of God while harboring someone who is directing ICE agents to wreak havoc upon our community and who killed Renee Good, who almost killed a 6-month-old baby. Enough is enough.
Otherwise, they would have protested outside of the church. They would have protested during a time in which there was not service, right? They would have, I don't know, went to the pastor's office during his office hours, right? They would have did something outside of protesting in the middle of the service, okay, while they were worshiping, right? That was the point, okay? That's the point. The defendant, Don Lemon, knowingly joined that agreement. He did. He knew exactly what they were going to do. It's obvious, right, based on his own statements that that's what they were going to do, right? And he knew it. And an overt act occurred in furtherance of it, which would be Don Lemon literally going out of his way to maintain operational secrecy, right? AKA making sure that the audience did not know what they were about to do so that the crime was successful, right? So that the operation was successful. That is not journalism. That is criminal activism, okay? That's not journalism. Don Lemon crossed the line from journalism to activism when he went out of his way to ensure that the operation would be successful, right? Despite knowing what they're about to do was a crime. And the reason why you know this is because Don Lemon is so stupid that during his live stream, he literally admitted that, oh yeah, I'm surprised that the police haven't showed up, right? It's almost as if he knew what they were doing was not legal, right? He knew it.
Yeah. There you go. And so folks are leaving. The pastor is here. he's leaving. I'm surprised that law enforcement has not showed up yet. So we'll see. Let's go out front and see what's happening. Let's go out front.
Yeah. So as I've stated, Don Lemonade is so stupid. He's so dumb that he literally said everything and did everything on live stream possible to cross the line from journalist to criminal activist, right? He's just too stupid to know it, which is also why he was stupid enough to record it, right? So let's go over this, right? I really want to go over this because I want people to understand that this is not bullshit. The media is going to tell you that it's bullshit because they have a built-in motivation to dismiss this case against Don Lemon because they're not journalists. They're activists. Don Lemon is the first liberal journalist to actually be held accountable for criminal activism disguised as journalism. And because these liberal media journalists aren't journalists, they're activists, this is why they feel so threatened. That's what people got to understand when you hear people like Abby Phillip, Cuomo, all these people in the media, Stephen A. Smith, all these people that are coming to Don Lemon's defense. They're not journalists. A journalist is not threatened by this DOJ indictment because a real journalist would not do what Don Lemon did, which, let's go over it here. This is why the DOJ believes that Don Lemon is guilty of a conspiracy against rights agreement. Pre-service gathering and coordination, all on camera, movement into the sanctuary together, which they did, live stream references to a planned operation and not revealing details, which Don Lemon went out of his way to not reveal, which would be furtherance of the act, basically guaranteeing that the act was successful, right? Participating in the crime, right? Helping to facilitate what he knew was a crime. This is not spontaneous. This is coordinated. With the intent to interfere with the right of worship, right? So choosing a Sunday worship service, entering the sanctuary, doing active worship, acknowledging this church does not have the right to be a house of worship because of one of the pastors allegedly being a ICE agent. So the whole point was to demonstrate that you are not allowed to worship, right? That we're not going to allow you to worship because we don't like your political opinions. The point was to interfere with their First Amendment rights. I mean, I think this is super clear, right? Knowing participation by Don Lemon, so he live streamed statements about secrecy in the operation, remained in church while worship was disrupted, and commentary acknowledging the disruption in real time, right? While also agreeing with what was happening in real time. This is not what journalists do, right? This is not a journalistic act, okay? We've seen millions of examples of journalists covering acts of civil unrest and criminal activity without supporting the criminal activity, coordinating with the criminals, or aiding in operational secrecy, which are all things that Don Lemon did, right? We've seen examples of how journalists do it. This is why I'm telling you, this is not an attack on journalism. It's not an attack on journalism. It's not an attack on the First Amendment. It's not an attack on the press. Don Lemon was not acting as a journalist. He was acting as an activist, a criminal activist, okay? We're talking about overt acts that show that the plan was carried out and not just discussed, okay? And I personally believe that the DOJ, all the evidence is in the live stream. All they got to do is just play the live stream. That's all they got to do. And it's going to be up to the jury to decide whether or not they want to believe that Don Lemon was there as a neutral journalist, right? Or was he actually there as a participant in the protest? Or did he help further the act of interfering with those people's rights, right? That's what it comes down to. Now, I'm not going to deal with the FACE Act specifically because that's a little bit more complicated. That deals more with obstruction and physically interfering with them actually leaving the facility, going in and out of the facility. I don't want to talk about that, right? Because that, to me, I think is minor compared to, I think, where they actually can get Don Lemon, right? So there's a reason why the so-called journalists don't want to talk about this.
Don Lemon wanted an exclusive. He's not he is not in cahoots. He wants an exclusive. That is
Let me
not
tell you
in
what part
cahoots.
of the let me tell you what part of the problem is. It's a conspiracy. You don't have to know what any of your co-conspirators are doing as long as you commit an act in furtherance.
How are they co-conspirators? They are there to protest. Don is there to report.
Right.
I have done this thousands of
If
times in my
you're
career.
hold on, what they're alleging is not that they were protesting, that they
Jeez,
were
why
on
is this freaking
private
camera so low quality? It's like someone fucking exhaled, fucking put their breath on it and never fucking cleaned their lens.
property. No, man, they've got the church is private property.
Mark, have you ever seen a no trespassing sign at a church? They welcome.
It doesn't matter. It's church. The churches are private property.
Everybody, hold on.
They had
Hold on. Hold on.
Hold on. Can I tell you something?
You are allowed to walk in a church. Anybody can walk in a church. Don Lemon has a right to walk in a church. If they tell him to leave, then maybe he has to leave.
And the pastor did tell him to leave, and he didn't leave. So you just freaking you already debunked yourself, dumbass.
If they tell him when he's recording, but you are allowed to walk in a church. Period. I read all of the allegations that supposedly make him a co-conspirator, and it's insulting. They're lies. They know it. It's not true.
But then again, you keep going back to lies. You don't get to
they put it all
federal
here.
Judge.
They put it all in here.
But the federal judge doesn't start looking at the indictment
I'm not talking,
and second guess the grand jury.
What I'm talking about is you got a Department of Justice that is trying to get Don Lemon, is trying to make this case, is trying to argue that if you cover a protest that Donald Trump's administration doesn't like, then we're not looking at you as a journalist. By covering it, we're going to make you a protester and we're going to prosecute you. They are trying to intimidate they're trying to intimidate the press. If a reporter cannot report on what is going on of national importance and be there chronicling it, then freedom of the press is dead. And when freedom of the press is dead, democracy dies.
It's because they know that if Don Lemon is found guilty, right? If they convict Don Lemon, that their activism now becomes subject to criminal liability, right? If these individuals were actual journalists and not activists, they would have nothing to be concerned about. What would they be concerned about? No real journalist would engage in the activities that Don Lemon engaged in, not in the way that he did it. A real journalist would have pulled up and would have recorded everything, gave minimum commentary outside of describing what was happening without forming an opinion that strongly suggests that they agree with operation. He's kissing the brain of the operation, right? The woman that is leading the operation, the actual leader. He's kissing her, thanking her for what she did. He's lecturing the congregants on how they should be okay with their First Amendment rights being violated. A real journalist would not have done any of that stuff. A real journalist reports on what's happening, just give factual information about what's happening.
Yeah, because again, journalism, though, you're supposed to state what's going on, and that's it. Because let's be honest here, that's all that matters about journalism. You state, you grab research and all. Oh, well, here's the thing: if you journalism, all you're doing is showing things, is showing and telling things how it is. You're not putting your opinion out there. Nobody cares about your opinion. It's not the point of journalism. Journalism is not about hearing your opinion. It's about telling you, it's about showing you what the fuck is going on in the country, or wherever the location is.
They keep it moving, right? That's not what Don Lemon did. So these people pretending as if it's an attack on the First Amendment, they either didn't read the indictment, a lot of them didn't, and if they did read the indictment, they're flat out lying to you. They're misleading you, and they want to delegitimize it because, again, they have a built-in incentive to get Don Lemon off, or for Don Lemon to be found not guilty or for the case to be dismissed. Because they're activists. They're not journalists. It's really that simple, right? So again, Don Lemon is pretending as if this is an attack on his rights.
I am not going to bend the knee to this administration. I am not going to put on liars and insurrection deniers and election deniers. I'm not going to give my platform to those people. I'm not going to put people on television and give them a platform, people who come on just to lie and to offend and to insult people. It's insulting to the American people. This is not folly. It's not funny. This is not a game. If you look at any tyranny or any autocracy, any sort of dictatorship, the first thing they do is they get rid of the media. They try to silence the media. Ask Turkey about that, Erdogan. Ask Iran about that. Ask any country that has lost its way, that has been overtaken by a dictator. They get rid of the press first. And so we need to start standing up. And
Didn't they do that though? Didn't the Biden administration do that by going at Facebook and going at Google and going at all that and YouTube and shit? And that's what they did.
Apparently that is a journalist, guys. Right? In 2026, that is a journalist. Again, these people are trying to disguise activism as journalism. That is not journalism. If Don Lemon is a journalist, then I'm a journalist. If Don Lemon is a journalist, anybody who gets behind a mic and talks about politics and news for a living is a journalist, right? And that's kind of the irony here, is that the media wants to protect this title of journalist, right? They have this distinguished title, right, of journalist, but they don't understand that their defense of Don Lemon and his journalism actually waters down what it means to be a journalist. Don Lemon may at some point in time have been a legitimate journalist. I don't know when that was, but what Don Lemon does right now is not journalism. He does commentary. He's an activist, right? He's not a journalist. And the media calling him
and again, there's nothing wrong with being a commentator, but don't call yourself a journalist. Because a journalist is not supposed to have journalists don't have opinions. Or at least they don't supposed to put the opinions out there in public. That's not the point of journalism.
In order to protect themselves,
It's supposed to state facts and all that shit. That's the point of a journalism. Commentators, you can put your opinion because you're a commentator, right? But journalism, that's not what journalism is. Journalism is about stating facts, not opinions.
Right? To build an imaginary legal shield around themselves so that they can do whatever they want, right? Because that's what this is about. And that's what people got to understand, why these people can't be straight with you. The media is never going to be straight with you. They're never going to be honest with you about what Don Lemon did, because that's a threat to what they do. That's a threat to their jobs. So they will never be okay with one of their own being arrested, right? Or being held accountable for activism disguised as journalism. They will never be okay with it. Even some on the right are not going to be okay with it, even though I think they're silly, because they're pretending as if, oh, this is going to open up the door for Democrats to do this to us. And it's like, well, where were you when Democrats arrested and prosecuted the journalist on January 6th that just documented what happened inside of the Capitol, right? Where were you when the Biden administration arrested and prosecuted those who recorded others going into abortion facilities, right? Protesting at abortion facilities. They're already doing that to people on the right. And that's the thing that really blows my mind about conservatives. Conservatives really believe we live in a world where, oh, well, we don't need to do this because Democrats they're gonna do it back to us. It's like, they're already doing it to us. What are you talking about? Right? like what are you talking about? So, again, I just want people to understand my point. The media has an incentive to lie to you about this because, as I explained to you guys,
they benefit from it.
In 2026, narrative and the agenda is more important than the truth. They're not going to tell you the truth because the truth is a threat to their agenda. Them telling you the truth about what Don Lemon did, which is that it was not journalism, it was activism, is a threat to themselves. And because they will never support a threat to their activism, right? they're not going to tell the truth about Don Lemon. And I think that the whole point is to win in the court of public opinion, regardless of the outcome, regardless of the legitimacy of the charges, right? They want to shape the public narrative around what's happening to Don Lemon, because again, what's happening to Don Lemon is a threat to any of these journalists who want to cross the line from journalism to activism, and seeing somebody actually be held accountable for criminal activism scares them. Again, it's a threat to what they do. It should tell you what these people are actually about. Because if they were journalists, they wouldn't be threatened, right? Real journalists are not threatened by what happened to Don Lemon, because real journalists understand how to do neutral journalism without participating and aiding and abetting in the crime in and of itself, right? I think real journalists understand that, okay? But because they're not real journalists, again, this is why they're freaking out about this. So, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like.
Yeah, because again, okay, typically, the journalism or activism doesn't get punished. You don't get punished. People don't get punished for activism. But now they see Don Lemon, like, oh, they're like, oh shit. That means like, all activism can lead to getting in trouble. Don't get in trouble for it. Let's see here.
You just witnessed history. It's July 4th, 2010, Independence Day, and you're somewhere out in New York, and suddenly you hear some commotion. 40,000 people exposed, taking pictures, chanting something you can't quite make out. And you see a man being dragged off a stage by police. Now, people getting arrested in New York, that's pretty usual, but this guy's different. It wasn't a random man that jumped a barrier. This man was an American icon, one that had six-figure deals lined up with national corporations. He made appearances on SNL. The Simpsons even referenced him because what he created was a culture, one that was just a joke before him, that he turned into an international phenomenon. And in one moment, he threw it all away. Like culture keep on. So you guys risk all in front of 40,000 people on live television. Whatever he did it for, it had to be pretty damn important.
No.
Right?
Okay, so I'd like to talk to you about the longest, most consistent relationship I've had in my life. A metal sheet, aka this video's sponsored Displate. I don't know if I'm just some guy to y'all, or you actually know me from the very questionable content I've put up over the years, either as a fake person or a real fake person. If you peep my walls, I've always had these cool metal posters hung up around my room, especially in the streaming days when I said I used to sleep next to 16 school children, but I forgot how bad that sounded. Well, those were Displates, and I still use them to this day. Like, just from the packaging, you can tell you're opening something premium. This is not just a rolled up poster that's just gonna fall off one day. Plus, the print quality is crisp. The surface is sleek, and it just looks damn good. But what really sold me is the mounting. There's no drilling, no tools, and no destroying your wall. You stick a magnet on the wall, and it holds. And if you get bored of the design,
clean the wall
lift it off
first.
and swap it with something else. Plus, it's a platform for
Well, I don't know why everyone forgetting that. But you're supposed to clean the wall before you stick things onto it. So you clean it, stick the magnet, then you stick the thing on. You need to clean it first.
Artists too. Thousands of creators from all over the world selling their original work. And shit, if you want, you can just upload your own work too and make a Displate of it. I'm telling you, I've supported Displate from day one, and they've always been an amazing product, and you should get it too. So if your walls are embarrassingly boring, go to the link below, that's displate.com/L/.
Speaking of Displate, I think I can definitely use some more posters. I got more than enough space for at least a couple more posters. Because right now I only have 3 up. I have a LeBron poster, a Luffy poster, and a Michael Jordan poster. I got more than enough space to add at least like a few more on my wall. But I have to think about which ones I'm even gonna buy first.
Kurt Ritchie, or use my code Kurt Ritchie to get 28% off one Displate, 32% off 2, and 35% off 3. This is a steal! I'm telling you, You need to take advantage of this. Once again, check out the link in the description or use the code KurtRitchie, 28% off 1, 32% off 2, or 35% off 3 or more. Fuck it, you wherever you want, bro. Let your walls say something about you. And thank you, Displate, for sponsoring this video. All right, so to understand how eating a hot dog became a crime, we gotta go back 9 years before that arrest to a time when nobody knew who this man was. It's 2001, Coney Island, 4th of July. There's a stage set up in front of Nathan's Famous. You know, Nathan's Famous, like the hot dog brand.
And a sizable crowd is starting to gather beside some stage they'd set up in front of the Nathans.
And on that stage is a long table, and behind it is a row of people, competitors, standing, waiting.
Hot dog eating contest?
Are hot dogs.
Yeah, hot dog eating contest.
Like a lot of hot dogs, bro. See, what we're looking at is the annual Nathan's Famous hot dog eating competition. Something that's been happening every year since 1972. And it's been a tradition. Not necessarily a spectacle, but tradition. Whoever could put down the most hot dogs in 12 minutes wins. Now, the world record was 25 hot dogs. Say world record, but again, it's just these niggas here. And that number had barely moved in years. Now, the guys who competed were mostly big dudes. I mean, that makes sense, right? Bigger stomach, bigger room. So there was a lot of weird looks when a 5'6", 144-pound guy from Japan walked up to the table. Obviously, nobody was worried. Now, this dude's name was Takeru Kobayashi, a Japanese citizen here in the US. See, the thing about Kobayashi is he had made a name for himself out there. In Japan, eating competitions was fairly normal at this time, like TV Champion and Food Battle Club. But those shows were different. It was about the theatrics. This was about the sport. America was where the real competition was. And the defending competitor
makes sense.
The homeboy and was like,
Obviously, Americans don't really they are available when it comes on their fucking their portions. Ooh, they'll give you they'll slap a big ass steak on it for $15.
All right, good luck, gang. But in truth, they should have been terrified. Because when that competition started, something was immediately wrong. Not wrong like bad, like wrong like what the fuck am I watching? Kobayashi wasn't eating like everybody else. While other competitors were stuffing whole hot dogs in their mouths and struggling, Kobayashi had a system. He broke the hot dogs in half before eating them, and then, fucking disgusting, dunked the buns of water in so they slide down easier. Now, for a lot of y'all who might be more familiar with this now, that's the common method that is used today. He was the one who invented it. And when the clock hit 0, he had eaten 50 hot dogs. The old record was 25. Bro doubled it in his first American competition. To put this in a perspective,
yeah, because eating, because in competition eating, you have to do your strategies. Right. And that's kind of when you're eating competitive eating, you have to have those strategies.
Incremental improvement. This is like if someone showed up the Olympics and just shattered Usain Bolt's record. There's a documentary that talks about it, ESPN's 30 for 30, the good, the bad, the hungry. One of the quotes from the guys was, "The rules of the universe do not apply to the 144 pounds that compromise Takeru Kobayashi. He's an alchemist that has transformed athletics into mathematics, mathematics into poetry, and poetry into history." Damn, is that serious? Well, it was. And overnight, Kobayashi became a star. But he wasn't the only thing that blew up that day. See, before Kobayashi, there wasn't really an infrastructure for competitive eating. It was just niggas eating food fast sometimes. But after that 2001 appearance, suddenly there was money. Sponsors wanted money. TV networks wanted coverage. Where there's money, there's going to be someone there to organize it. This is where Major League Eating comes in, or MLE. It was a governing body of competitive eating. And more importantly, this is where George Shea comes in. Now, George Shea is chairman of the MLE. You ever seen footage of the Nathan's contest? You've seen him. He's the guy in the straw hat doing the overtop like carnival banter introduction. But what most people don't know is that George was running this. He wasn't just a host. And he understood something crucial about what happened that day. Kobayashi wasn't just a champion. He was a story. And stories sell. So here's the narrative George built. Every July 4th, Independence Day, it'll be America versus Japan. And bear in mind, it's the most American holiday possible. And who has the hot dog title? A foreigner. It was perfect. It was drama itself. And Kobayashi delivered every single year. 2001, 50 hot dogs. 2002, 50 and a half. 2003, kept it light, 44 and a half. 2004, back up with 53 and a half. 2005, 49. 2006, 53 and 3/4. He wins every year. 6 consecutive championships. He was a legend, a god. And because of Takeru, the MLE in competitive eating grew as a whole as well over those 6 years. The Nathan's Famous competition began to grow in size. There's starting to become more TV coverage in the US for eating stuff. He started to go on shows and competing live. Bro, he even competed against a literal bear once. He lost, but damn. Like, he was so big. Bro was on Saturday Night Live. He was referenced on The Simpsons. Like, bro, these took this seriously. Someone in the documentary said,
Compared Kobayashi to Tiger Woods is a slight against Kobayashi.
And what's crazy, that wasn't much of a stretch. He was that nigga. He wasn't just a competitive eater. He was a phenomenon, a mainstream celebrity, and Americans loved him. But here's the important part. Kobayashi and MLE grew together. Before him, competitive eating was a joke. And after him, it was a sport. He essentially created a sport. There was money involved, cash prizes up to $10,000 for usually winning the Nathan's Famous. He did that with MLE, and they made him an icon in America. It was a partnership. They needed each other. But there's one more detail that made America even more important to Kobayashi. See, back in January 2002, a 14-year-old kid in Japan was having lunch with his friends, and they decided to have a speed eating contest, imitating what they'd seen on TV in shows like Food Battle Club. You know, the same shows that Kobayashi had come on. One of the kids had choked on bread and passed away. Now, the backlash was immediate. Japanese networks pulled competitive eating shows off the air all over. And for 3 years, competitive eating in Japan was essentially dead, which meant America wasn't just where Kobayashi found his fame anymore. It was the only place he could compete. He was the US's guy. For now.
Bitches outside don't like me though. Why? I don't know they wanna be just like me though.
It's now 2007, and a new guy is hitting the scene. Joey
Chestnut,
white boy from California, built way different than Kobayashi. Now, he's been competing for a little bit and had seen Kobayashi as an idol and even competed against him a few times. But now he's less of an idol, more of a rival, because Joey was getting good. And during Nathan's Famous in 2007, for the first time in 6 years, Kobayashi loses. It was close. Chestnut ate 66 hot dogs to Kobayashi's 63, which is higher than he'd ever gone before, but it was still a loss. Kobayashi's first loss ever. Imagine breaking a world record and still losing. And just like that, the rivalry George Shea had been dreaming about was real. Kobayashi versus Chestnut. Japan versus America. The narratives were writing themselves. This was the golden age of competitive eating. At least that's how it looked like from the outside. See, behind the scenes, things were starting to crack. See that American versus Japan narrative we talked about earlier? It worked. Maybe a little too well. By 2009, Kobayashi said the atmosphere at Nathan's had changed. It wasn't just competitive anymore. It was hostile. The crowds weren't cheering for an exciting rivalry. They were booing him. The guy who built this whole thing. The guy who made this contest matter. Now, George Shea, whether he meant to or not, had positioned Kobayashi as essentially a villain for years. This is an American holiday, a non-American wins. How tragic. And he was doing it on purpose. It was good for TV, good for the story, but Kobayashi was really living this story. That new freedom he found in America was not really that free anymore. Even though the joy was gone, even though the crowds had turned, and even though the MLE was about to make things a whole lot worse. All right, so while this is all publicly happening, the rivalry, the losses, the hostile crowds, there's another battle happening behind closed doors. Contract negotiations. See, MLE wanted Kobayashi locked down. Exclusively. And the negotiations went like this. Now, their first offer was $25,000 to participate in 4 Nathan's related events, plus a $100,000 bonus if he won all of them. Sounds pretty decent. But
yeah.
The catch, the contract required
if he wins
exclusivity. Meaning if he signed, he couldn't compete in any other eating competitions that weren't run by the MLE anywhere in the world ever. I mean, MLE considered it like the NFL. They are a league, so you should only compete in our league, and anything you do should have our name on it. But Kobayashi just wanted to compete. He wanted to be able to compete in other events too. So the MLE counteroffered $40,000 for just 2 events. But we need you exclusive. And here's where it gets crazy. Kobayashi really did not want to only exclusively do stuff with MLE. So he said he'd compete at Nathan's for free. No appearance fee, no bonus. Just let him participate without being locked into exclusivity. What a great deal. They said no. They said no to free. Now, there's a BuzzFeed article talking about this, and it says the MLE was emailing him at 2
in the morning,
begging him to sign. They needed him. Despite Joey Chestnut being on the up and up, he was still their biggest star. He was the guy who made competitive eating a real thing, but they would not budge on exclusivity. Because it wasn't about the money, it was about control. Put Kobayashi in a strange position. So like think about it for a second. Japan had already taken competitive eating away from him. After that student passed, the whole industry was shut down. America was supposed to be different. America was supposed to be a place where he could just do his thing. And now the MLE was telling him, you can compete here, but only if we own you completely. It wasn't freedom anymore. It was a different kind of cage. So what happened? Kobayashi said no, and he was banned from Nathan's, the contest that made him, pun not intended, famous. In fact, they removed him from their wall of fame. The man who doubled the world record, who put competitive eating on ESPN, who made Nathan's an international event, erased like he never existed. So now we're caught up. It's 2010. Kobayashi's banned, erased from history. But that doesn't stop him from coming to the event. Kobayashi comes to the Nathan's Famous competition, not competing, but in the stands, wearing a Free Kobe shirt as he sees the sport that he built move on without him. Brings us back to where we started. July 4th, 2010, Coney Island. And there are 40,000 people packed in to watch the Nathan's Famous hot dog eating contest. Long way from those humble beginnings. Started by Kobayashi, who is not competing. Joey Chestnut stands on the stage with Kobayashi in the crowd. He's not competing. He's just there watching as the contest happens on the stage that should have been his. But the crowd notices him and they start chanting, "Let him eat! Let him eat! Let him eat." 40,000 people chanting for Kobayashi, the guy MLE banned, the guy they erased. Now, eventually, the competition finishes and Joey Chestnut wins, but the crowd is still chanting, "Let him eat." And something in Kobayashi just snaps. Kobayashi rushes the stage in front of everyone. Security tackles him, police swarm. He's arrested on stage, on camera, on Independence Day. The charges: trespassing, resisting arrest, obstructing governmental administration. And Kobayashi spends the night in jail. And when asked about it later, his only comment was supposedly, "I wish there were hot dogs in jail." The irony is odd. Believe it or not, George Shea was eating it up. In an interview, he said, when Kobayashi stormed the stage, it was phenomenal. Was it great for press? Yeah, it was phenomenal for press. But Kobe wasn't doing this to fulfill a narrative. This was really how he felt. And what he strung turned into something real. MLE got their content. Kobayashi lost his freedom. Everyone played their role, whether they were trying to or not, perfectly. After all that, all the charges against Kobayashi are eventually dismissed. The Rager from the Wall of Fame stayed, and Kobayashi never competed in Nathan's again. Or it wasn't really a ban, per se. According to 30 for 30, MLE kept inviting him back year after year after the incident. The door was technically open. He kept saying no. George Shea believes it's because he wasn't America's darling anymore, and that hurt him. And that was partially true, sure. But I don't think it was the recognition that he missed, but the disapproval that he didn't want that was put on by him. Now, Kobayashi didn't stop competing. He did his own events after that. And you'd think that's where the story ends, but it's not. September 2024, Netflix, Unfinished Beef. For the first time in 15 years,
Kobayashi and Chestnut competed against each other. Both of them at this point banned from Nathan's. At least at some point. Chestnut actually had his own contractual disputes with Nathan's. Ironically enough, going through something similar that he did and not being able to compete a year in the Nathan's competition. Chestnut won that competition, 83 hot dogs to Kobayashi 66. But Chestnut says, without Kobayashi, I was never able to hit 80. And after that special, Kobayashi announced his retirement from competitive eating. It's kind of sad. It's not because he lost, but because his body was broken. In interviews around his retirement, he talked about what 20 plus years of competitive eating had done to him. I no longer feel hunger. The sensation is just gone. His body doesn't tell him when to eat anymore. He also lost his sense of smell. Brain scan shows concerning changes in how his nervous system processes food. Apparently the areas of his brain responsible for eating, feeling full, and feeling nauseous now all activate at the same time. His wife says he thinks he might be broken. Did Kobayashi ever really find freedom? I don't know. Maybe briefly, at least. I mean, he found the freedom to compete when Japan wouldn't let him, and lost it when the MLE demanded control. He found freedom outside their system, but at the cost of his legacy.
Yeah, because again, the thing is that he was just there for fun. He wasn't there for money or anything. And the thing is that obviously MLE, they wanted the money. Because they know that they can get a lot from him. So it's like, hey, get a contract. He's like, no, I don't want that. And then, yeah, they banned him. Not banned him, but like, they're like, yeah, our door's always open. AKA, if you want to be a puppet, you know what to do.
Oh, he's free of competitive eating entirely, but only because his body won't let him continue. Maybe freedom never really was the point. Maybe it was always about control. Who has it, who wants it, and what you lose trying to get it, and how it affects real people. A 23-year-old kid from Japan showed up to a hot dog contest in 2001 looking for a chance to compete, and 23 years later, a hot dog cost him everything. His platform, his legacy, his body, his freedom. And I didn't think I'd say this, but there's something to be learned from that.
Yeah. That's capitalism. That's capitalism. That's how capitalism thrives, man. Ash's creations is done. Oh, I don't really care. I don't really care. My first law at the university. Oh.
Okay, I gotta zoom in on this real quick, just to look at the design. Yeah, that's my favorite part of the design. The way the outfit looks right there is truly peak. And I think this alone really just states my opinion on the conversation right now that is circulating around Zenless Zone Zero for the last 24 hours. So to give some much needed context for those that want context, Zenless Zone Zero's dev team, they released a new trailer slash, image for a new character outfit. This outfit in particular right here, which caused a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people, to be extremely upset. And we get to see some of this generational crash out from the actual subreddit of ZZZ. This is the subreddit of ZZZ discussion, and this is someone that is a part of the mod team, by the way, on this subreddit of Zenless Zone Zero, pretty much saying that if you talk about that skin in any way, calling it cute and funny, using emojis, using different words and phrases that obviously people that love this type of content, will say, you will get immediately banned. Which is interesting because they go on to say that you shouldn't discuss the developers or artists of the Zenless team, despite obviously them being very pro this type of content. More or less, these individuals are calling you a PDF, literally says it right here at the beginning. You can see a friendly reminder in all PDF/lolicon terms, phrases, or symbols will get you immediately and permanently banned without question. More or less, this moderator and the people a part of the subreddit that's in control of it, they are critically consuming Zenless Zone Zero and basically saying that if you say any of this and enjoy the content and the character designs that the dev team gave you, you're a PDF. But they will go on and play the updates, they will get these skins, and they will critically consume it, they will criticize it, but they will in turn buy, support this game, and support content that they deem PDF content. It's very fascinating how that typically happens quite often, and especially when this game is obviously not designed for individuals like this. It's also very fascinating to me if you take a hard look at the profile picture at the top.
The dog.
It's a guy with a furry picture. Now, with that being said, we gotta take a look at the comments and just how people are feeling about this response of what the moderator had to say. And one quick look reveals instantly just mass censorship, bans, and everything. Deleted.
Yeah, because basically, why the fuck? Okay, it's basically like, why the fuck are you a mod then if you don't? Okay.
Deleted. Yeah, I think you get the point. It's yeah, you can see this is a very power-hungry Reddit mod that really is just not able to separate fiction from reality. Which I guess let's get right into that. I'm gonna segue right into this and just make my point very clear. I've said this on social media. I've implied it in certain videos, but I don't want to get my words twisted by people. I'm just gonna say it. If you're upset about this, you think this is a real person, you need meds. You need to get some medication. I think you might be a schizo. This is not a real person. It's a drawing. It's pixels. These pixels in this drawing cannot thank you. It doesn't have a soul. It's nothing. It's literally a soulless entity on a piece of paper or with pixels. Anyone that cannot separate fiction from reality from this, I think is actually kind of crazy. I think you really do need to take...
I have a question. Was this guy also mad about the, Was he also mad about the Jane Doe swimsuit?
Your medication. Now, it's fine if you don't like this design. It's completely fair. But if you're going out of your way to call someone a PDF for liking this, I think that says a lot more about you than anything else, because that means that you're putting a drawing in the same tier as an actual real living person, which I think in turn is hurting actual people. It's allowing criminals to get away easier because you're watering down terms and diluting the subject matter and the conversation around this.
Well, not only that, it's also there's also false accusations too, because you're saying, oh, you're this based off of this fictional character. Okay, has he ever touched an actual girl inappropriate, an underage person inappropriately? No. Then what the fuck? Then what? What are we doing here?
Point to where when someone calls someone out for being a PDF, they're like, are you talking about a real person or are you talking about a drawing? And that's bad when you have to instantly ask that type of question when you have a discussion like this. That already shows the damage and narrative that this has done to everything around this. And
it's called the globalization. This is the consequence of the globalization of anime.
I think that anyone that is continuously doing stuff like that is actively harming real people. Just gonna say it like it is. But I'm gonna say it, this is gonna get me a lot of heat. Amazing design. I like this design. It's very cute. I really do like the little cat ears and all that. I love the green hair. Everything about this design is extremely cute. And it's just crazy something so simple like this is getting people so upset to the point they're getting violent. Actually violent over this. It's like, dude, back in like 2017, 2018, 2015, you didn't get stuff like this. Like, you literally had MatPat, by the way. I'll show a clip here, actually.
Over here, we're doing the math now, and nothing, not even that lolly on the other page, is sexier than math.
You even had MatPat talking about lollies. Straight up. Like, in a positive way, by the way. Like, if that was to release in 2025 or 2026, straight up canceled. Flamed.
Oh yeah, definitely. MatPat would have gone canceled. Because he's basically saying, I'm out of focus. this shit making me hard to focus on the words, man. God damn.
But the fact that you have so many content creators in the past that were very pro this or could talk about this in a joking manner without any backlash is insane. Just how sensitive the internet has gotten. And
yeah, because a lot of think about the big people, like perfect example, when Joey, the anime man, he brought a figure. I forgot what figure it was. I think it was from V0. Was it the blue? I think it was what's her name? Rem? Yeah, I think it was Rem. When he bought a Rem statue, Rem figurine on the Trash Taste podcast. Connor's like, "Oh, you're gonna get arrested." I don't know if you're gonna get arrested and shit. And it's also like it's all the big content creators that advocate for this stuff is the reason why as well.
Optics that people now use to get around this type of topic. And I'm not someone that's going to try to use optics to get around this topic. I think at the end of the day, it's just fiction. It's not real. And trying to act like it's reality is kind of sick. I'm just gonna say it. But I leave it at that. I think that this reaction that people are having is in...
Again, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, because if you make a character super busty, oh, that's objectifying women, and then if you make a character have this body type, oh, you're doing it's a whole it's crazy. It's crazy. Think before you can sleep.
Dr. Verma, you are now recognized for your
I've always seen. I never watched them before, so this is something new. This is something new to me.
testimony.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairwoman Maloney and distinguished members of the committee. My name is Dr. Nisha Verma, and I use she, her pronouns.
If my doctor ever introduced herself by saying my pronouns are she, her, I'm finding a new doctor. I'm surprised you couldn't hear people laughing in the background. Maybe their mics were off.
I'm a fellow with Physicians for Reproductive Health, a network of physicians across the country working to improve access to comprehensive reproductive health care.
Sorry, I know that was boring, but basically she means she's an abortion activist. Physicians for Reproductive Health is an abortion advocacy group that media trains doctors to be public advocates for reproductive health care rights and other roundabout ways to confuse people by complicating simple ideas.
I'm here today to tell you that abortion is necessary, compassionate, essential health care.
Right, compassionate.
I wouldn't say it's compassionate, because if you definitely know how abortion works, I think there is the pill method, and then there is the medication method, and it is the more brutal method, when it's like you basically, I'll say you basically rip the baby apart, or the fetus apart.
Anyway, so why are we talking about this? Who is this person, Nisha Verma? Well, some of you might have recognized her from this viral clip that was taken at a congressional hearing.
Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is...
Geez, just answer the question.
It's like a fucking like talking to a robot that just can't listen to you. It doesn't listen to what you're just saying.
It's not that hard. God, I hate politicians. Sorry, she, her is not a politician. She's an activist, which is arguably worse.
I am a person of science, and I'm also someone...
No, you're not. Because you're a person of science, you would know that there's two genders. Plain and simple. You're not a person of science.
Here who's here to represent the complex experiences of my patients, and I don't think polarized language or questions serve that goal.
Then you're not a person of science. Point blank period. Don't call yourself that if you're not gonna do shit or put action behind that shit, nigga. You ain't no person of science.
They serve the American people.
It is not polarizing to say that there is a scientific difference between men and women.
Right. As a person of science, she's trying to imply that talking about biological realities is extremist language, and the reasonable, non-polarizing opinion is that men can get pregnant. Holy crap, she, her is not...
It's so unfortunate there are people in the medical field that are like this, that are willing to basically compromise fact for political... I don't even know what she gains out of this. What does she even gain from this? Like really, what do you gain from doing this shit? Honestly.
Fit to practice medicine. But over the past year, I found that my YouTube viewing habits go in phases. For example, I went through my Japan tourism phase, then I moved on to body cam footage, and now I'm locked into the congressional hearing meta. I have to say that outside of Twitch streamers, I have never seen a bigger group of drama farmers than the people who do congressional hearings, and so far it's been great. Look at this one about government spending.
Do you think that we should be spending money on, quote, the racialized basis of trait judgments from faces?
I am not at all familiar with that grant.
It's a $500,000 NSF grant.
Okay, I am not familiar with the subject matter or the particular grant.
But you're defending these. Let's do another one. This one is called hashtag transcendent health, adapting an LGBT B+ inclusive teen pregnancy prevention program for transgender boys. I can't even say this without laughing. Do you think that that is a useful form of our tax spend?
I am not familiar with that grant.
Let me be clear. These people who made up all these bullshit programs designed to steal tax dollars that Doge found out about should not merely be fired. They should be thrown in prison for a long time. Now, going back to the viral congressional hearing, Nisha Verma, as much as people were clip farming her complete refusal to answer a question about basic biology, as a medical professional, actually as a gynecologist, she could not confirm that men can't get pregnant. But the important point here is...
I forgot, what's a gynecologist? Hey Siri. Hey Siri. What's a gynecologist? Okay, so basically, she knows everything about like the okay, so like the base of the genitalia. That's even worse. Can you imagine you're a gynecologist? So you basically, when you're a gynecologist, you basically know the ins and outs of the reproductive system for both men and women, and you can't you can't answer if men can get pregnant. You should know what would happen. Okay, but I guess who cares, right?
that this wasn't just a random
That's
question
even
they were
worse.
asked.
If you're like if you're like a surgeon or something, or a random doctor, or a pharmacist or some shit, then like, okay, yeah. But you're a gynecologist, that's even worse. I mean, you specialize in the genitalia, and you can't answer that question?
There's a reason why they asked it, and that reason goes back to what the hearing was about, which is a conversation about abortion medication.
So how do we get here? To the point where abortion pills can be ordered online, mailed, taken with no medical supervision, and we have no safeguards against coercion.
I mean, that sounds pretty crazy and immoral. I didn't even know you could do that. But that was Bill Cassidy, who was leading this dialogue that was largely about an abortion medication called mifepristone. For context, most abortions are induced by medication, and the issue they're bringing up here is legislation that was created by the Biden administration that allows...
Of course, the Biden administration. Of course.
Abortion drugs to be prescribed to people without an in-person visit to the doctor.
That's very dangerous because, again, if you can just order it by mail, it means anyone can get it. And then that means people can use it for malicious intent, and that can really fuck someone up.
This creates a number of issues. The first being that easy access to this drug is being used to circumvent the law in states where abortion is illegal.
After Dobbs, the Biden FDA promptly announced
that too.
It would remove the in-person dispensing requirement for abortion pills, thereby authorizing mifepristone to be shipped nationwide by mail. This is medically dangerous, unethical, and illegal in Louisiana and many states, as well as federal law. Data from pro-abortion advocacy groups indicate 900 illegal abortions occurred per month in Louisiana in 2025.
That's nearly 11,000 illegal abortions in a year just in Louisiana because of this workaround. Now, let me be clear on this because I'm sure people are going to ask what my position is. I assure you that I have such a middle-of-the-road opinion that it will probably make both sides mad, but whatever. First, I think that using abortion as a contraceptive, which is almost all abortion, is highly immoral and should be illegal. And while this might piss off the Christians, I think they should...
Yeah, look at that. 0. Reasons for seeking abortion. Not even 1% is from raping it. Because here's the thing. When people talk about abortion, they usually bring up the whole rape hypothetical. It's like, oh, what if this person was raped and stuff like that, even though that according to this institute, it is a 0.4%. So it's such a small percentile, not percentile. It's such a small percentage that using the hypothetical really doesn't mean anything.
Cede ground to the pro-abortion activists on the less than 1% that are because of incest and rape. So
yeah, because that's the argument that everyone goes to. Everyone that supports abortion will immediately go to extremes and say, okay, what if someone did this? What if someone R-worded this person?
Activists can't use those small case examples to justify the 96% of abortions that are because someone didn't want to wear a condom or take the morning after pill. There are so many effective contraceptives that we should not be having like a million oopsies per year.
And that I agree with. That's one thing I agree with. The thing is, yeah, again, that's the reason why I don't think abortion should be legal, is because we have so many methods, bro. We have so many methods to prevent pregnancies that abortion shouldn't even be a conception. It's so stupid. We have like you said, we have condoms, uh, uh, um, the birth control pills, morning after pills, the little pickaxe thingies you put in there, the female condom, yeah, the morning after pill. We have spermicide. We have so many contraceptives to prevent pregnancies, and just people just don't want to do it. And obviously, if I remember correctly, it I'm pretty sure in some states abortions cost money. So you would rather spend more money on doing abortions instead of just paying a good like $10 for a box of condoms. It's very stupid. It's very dumb.
That being said, you can probably guess that I'm not too happy about something like a doctor in California shipping abortion drugs to a client where abortion is illegal, followed by instructing them on how to effectively lie to the hospital in their state if there are complications from their use of mifepristone.
That's true.
Not only that, Liz Muriel, Louisiana's attorney general, was saying that in many cases you don't even have to talk to a doctor. You just fill a form out online. So that's the Republican side of the story, and now that we've gone over that, let's go to Bernie Sanders and his witness to hear the opposing opinions.
I'd like to introduce Dr. Nisha Verma, who is an obstetrician and gynecologist and a fellow with Physicians for
This man's
Reproductive
still kicking. I'm surprised he's still working, bro. This man's old Mitch McConnell.
Health.
All that.
Good morning, Chair Cassidy, Ranking Member Sanders, and distinguished members of the Senate Help Committee. My name is Dr. Nisha Verma, and I am a double board-certified, fellowship-trained obstetrician and
double board
gynecologist
certified.
and
That's even
fellow with
worse.
Physicians for Reproductive Health.
I like how we had to hear the exact same information back to back over the course of a minute. Very efficient. But again, Physicians for Reproductive Health is a pro-abortion activist organization. Nisha Verma is a trained propagandist, so naturally she's going to spend her a lot of time.
She's the thing. If she gets money from them, then that's even more the reason why she's for it is because she knows that most people that she gets are fucking lunatics, and she knows that if she says that men can't get pregnant, then she's gonna lose that people, aka she's gonna lose money. So basically, she's just doing it to fit her bottom dollar. Point blank, period.
I'm completely ignoring the reason for this hearing, so she can talk about whatever point she wants to bring up.
Miscarriages occur in 10 to 26% of all pregnancies, and I often care for women and families.
But here's the thing: what are those reasonings, though? Those you have because you can say 10 to 20 pregnancies or whatever, 26 whatever are miscarriages, but what are those reasons for miscarriages? You have to add that to the fact as well.
Experiencing the loss of a highly desired pregnancy who wish to treat their miscarriage with medication. For these patients, mifepristone, along with misoprostol, speeds up the process, reduces pain, and decreases the need for additional treatments.
No one was talking.
Yeah, but you have to no. People are talking about the access. That's the argument. The argument is that the access of getting it is too easy. Nobody's arguing about the benefits or the effects of misoprostol or whatever the fuck that is. People are arguing the accessibility, and that it's too accessible. That's where the people are arguing, not talking about the drug itself.
Talking about that. Who is even advocating against doctors using effective treatments in the case of a miscarriage or like an ectopic pregnancy? Nobody wants that to be illegal, and while I have seen stuff from people like Illymation where she will fearmonger and lie to 4 million people about abortion laws, I have yet to see any of these people.
Wasn't Illymation part of your group, or at least you collaborated with her before? Because I could have sworn I saw her avatar on your fucking thumbnail before. Pretty sure. I could be wrong.
Now, a state where these specific treatments are illegal. Certainly they don't do that during this meeting.
My staff was able to confirm that in North Carolina, the health of the mother is an exception in which abortion would be allowed. So just to say that. Secondly, Dr. Verma suggested that in Louisiana, if somebody's having a miscarriage, that they do not have access to these drugs. That's incorrect. Specifically, it says that if somebody is having a miscarriage, there is access to the legitimate use of these drugs in compliance with the law. So that's incorrect.
That being said, let's talk about something from this hearing that really concerned me. Actually, two things that I think even if you are in favor of abortion, these will disturb you. The first being concerns over safety protocol for a prescription medication that, in my opinion, as well as the opinion of many others, has an intended side effect that is lethal. I think maybe you should have to do a little bit more than fill out a form online to get this drug.
These abortion drugs, category A drugs are safe, B are probably safe, C. What type of category drug are these prostaglandin drugs that you prescribe?
In Louisiana now they have been made controlled substances.
But you would agree with me that these prostaglandin drugs are category X drugs? The answer is yes. They are category X drugs.
Where he's going with this is that these drugs cause birth defects. Now, why would that be important in reference to telehealth phone calls? To clarify this next part, the person asking questions is Senator Roger Marshall, who's an OBGYN doctor, which means he focuses on stuff like delivering babies, so he's knowledgeable in this field.
A woman comes in for her first visit, and she tells you when her last menstrual cycle was. It's pretty common for them to be off. In fact, it's very common to be off about a month. Would not be unusual. Would you agree with that?
Yes, Dr. Marshall, and actually I would add to that I recently had a woman come in because she was having some bleeding and abdominal pain, and she was 23 weeks and didn't know it.
Let's take a pause for a second. If you want this abortion drug, you can make a phone call or fill out paperwork with no real medical supervision and just take it. Part one of the issue here is that if you think you're 8 weeks pregnant but are actually 14 to 20 weeks pregnant, your risk of severe side effects such as hemorrhaging go up significantly.
Once you get into the second trimester, the risk of hemorrhage increases dramatically.
These doctors, such as Nisha Verma, know that these risks are here because they're counseling people in states where abortion is illegal on how to effectively lie to medical staff in the case that they have an adverse reaction. The only way to be super accurate about how long a woman has been pregnant during early pregnancy is to go into the doctor's office and get an ultrasound.
Doctor, I'm going to come back to you. Do you think an ultrasound, seeing the patient in person, is beneficial and safe, and not doing so is below the standard of care?
I would agree with that, and I'd also add that ACOG in its committee opinion says that any pregnancy that is not dated by ultrasound is suboptimally dated.
Got it. So let's go further into why it's important that you have an accurate date of conception when it comes to taking a drug like mifepristone.
I think you would also agree with me, doctor, that the failure rate of these abortion drugs is probably around 5% at less than 10 weeks. But the failure rate of giving it to a 14-week person over the phone, the failure rate is probably 10%. Failure rate meaning it doesn't work. That same patient calls me from home or just goes to the pharmacy and picks this drug up. They think they're 10 weeks, but they're actually 14 weeks. There's a 10% chance of this drug not working. And the risk factors associated with this X-rated drug, 5% of the babies that go on to deliver that took this drug, 5% of them have a major fetal malformation, limb deformities. So it's like they're missing fingers, they're missing digits. Cranial nerve palsies. Think of like Bell's palsy, you can't open your eyelids, you can't smile. Cranial nerve palsies, cranial facial defects, and of course premature births.
So basically, not only are you at a higher risk of adverse effects if you take the drug too late, but also the baby is more likely to survive. And if they do survive, there is a huge chance of birth defects. And you know what simple action would prevent this? Requiring that patients go in and talk to a doctor if they want to receive this drug. Because you know people like Nisha Verma aren't taking an ethical stance on this. The reason they are arguing against in-person visits to get this drug is because, in my opinion, they're political radicals who want to make it easy to subvert the law in states where people have voted for abortion to be illegal. How do I know their goal is to subvert the law? Well, it's because they openly say it during this meeting.
Women who don't have access to a specialist can access safe abortion by getting mifepristone and follow-up care through telehealth. Dr. Verma, how has telehealth changed access to safe reproductive care in rural areas?
Thank you. It has made it more accessible. And again, like I emphasized earlier, there is a process for telehealth. There are regulations, there are strict screenings that happen. And what is really the issue here is when people need additional care, they can't get it in their communities without fear of being criminalized.
Understand that she was using political euphemisms here to hide what she was actually saying, so let me translate. She said, yes, we are using telehealth to send drugs to people illegally, And those people aren't going through proper safety checks before getting access to a prescription drug because, you know,
But they don't want to get arrested.
if you get an ultrasound in a place where abortion is illegal and you don't have that baby, the doctor's going to wonder where the baby went. She absolutely just openly admitted to not only facilitating a crime, but in my opinion, when she helps those people obtain these drugs illegally, she's also engaging in malpractice because she's not doing her due diligence as a doctor and making sure that this drug is taken as safely as possible by her patients. Like, she should be arrested for this. We need to start throwing these activist doctors in jail for breaking the law. And it's not just that, but the amount of insane shit that Nisha Verma says under the guise of polite speech cannot be understated.
Who do you think is best prepared to determine whether mifepristone is safe and effective? Do you think it is members of a state legislature? Do you think it is United States senators? Or do you think it should be organizations like the American Medical Association and doctors and scientists who for decades have studied the issue?
As a doctor, I know that people are capable of making these decisions for themselves. They are the experts on their own lives and can make these decisions guided by evidence, science, and what's happening in their own lives.
Yeah, but that, again, they still need professionals. You know, because they have been doing this for how long now?
This lady is trying to get all the malpractice achievements. Common people don't have the education to read research on whether or not mifepristone is a safe drug.
Yeah,
That's why
and again, that's why they go to, I said that, I think they go to medical professionals, because they know about shit. They know about this stuff. But you think I know how freaking the drugs are made? No.
we have doctors. I mean, I had to double take when I heard Bernie Sanders ask his witness if people should trust their doctors, and she basically said, yeah, I think people should Google whether or not this is a safe drug. What the fuck? Note that she didn't say they should consult their doctors. She said that they can make their own decisions as a person who is advocating for access.
And again, that's highly fucking dangerous. Because if you're doing something like drugs that you don't really know the side effects of, that's very fucking dangerous.
To a prescription drug with minimal or no medical supervision. Anyway, Nisha Verma goes on to say, but when I do telehealth calls, I tell my patients to get an ultrasound. Yeah, but you're going to give them the drug anyway, and so are other doctors, so why would they get the ultrasound? With that said, let's go to the final part of the dangers of prescribing this drug remotely.
According to a criminal complaint filed in the U.S. District Court in the Southern District of Texas, Christopher Cooperrider murdered his next-door neighbor's unborn child, who he fathered in 2025. Cooperrider obtained mifepristone via online pharmacy and gave her these drugs without her knowledge by lacing it in her hot chocolate. It seems to me that just requiring an in-person visit before dispensing the drug would stop this.
Right, that seems reasonable. The problem is that you don't have to be a woman to get access to this drug, and because it's so easy to access, it allows, among other stuff, abusive partners to basically roofie their significant other. But allow me to shed more light on this case from Texas where abortion is illegal. This guy is alleged to have drugged his girlfriend with at least 10 abortion pills, which is, way more than the recommended dose.
Yeah, fuck, man. Like, that's fucking nearly a dozen. Like, jeez. You just need one.
Here's the
Fuck,
part that I
man.
want to focus on, though. The pills were purchased at a company called Aid Access, where on the website it says, get abortion care wherever you are, which I guess includes men, too. And just in case you find this to be a little bit unclear, the page goes on to say that they ship to all 50 states. But that's not all. The website also goes on to give very specific instructions on how to take the pills. And then if you scroll down more, it gives you information on how to identify a severe reaction, followed by instructing you to lie to hospital staff, which of course is definitely a smart.
When what said the hospital, you do not have to say yes, you took abortion pills. They cannot be they're literally saying, hey, don't just lie to the doctors, that way they can't actually help you properly.
Thing to do when you're having an adverse reaction to a drug. I mean, this sounds like a massive lawsuit waiting to happen, and hopefully criminal charges are brought against this organization and any organization like it. Wait, hold on a second. It says here that the pills can't be detected, so if that guy who drugged his girlfriend with an extreme dose of abortion pills didn't send her incriminating texts, they wouldn't be able to tell he drugged her? These companies don't see a problem with this? Oh, look, Aid Access is actually a foreign company designed to violate American laws, so this
Austria.
might be an act of war. Then there are also shield laws that protect doctors when they give abortion care to those who live in states where it's illegal. So basically, when they say that abortion access has been taken away, they're just lying to you. Which brings us to why the question, can men get pregnant, was asked.
Ms. Verma, can men get pregnant?
Dr. Verma.
Right, Dr. Verma.
Dr. Verma, can men get pregnant? As a doctor, give me your opinion. As a doctor, can men get pregnant?
People are laughing in the background because she had said stuff like this multiple times during the hearing.
Science and evidence need to guide medicine, not politics.
All right, so because Dr. Verma obviously did not answer the question, the lady asked the other doctor from the Republican side and the Attorney General.
I mean, I'll move on to the next one. Doctor, can men get pregnant?
No.
I know you're a lawyer, an AG, like I was an AG. Can men get pregnant?
No.
Is there any reason why men should get their hands on the abortion drug?
None.
And are they getting their hands on an abortion drugs?
They are.
So they were asking if men could get pregnant because there have been a number of cases where men get access to mifepristone and then try to secretly drug their partners. You know what would stop this? An in-person visit to a doctor.
Is it easy for men to get abortion drugs across state lines?
Extraordinarily.
In fact, I had staff members who said, my name is Michael, how do I get abortion drugs? Would it surprise you to know that there are all kinds of organizations ready to satisfy that whim of a man to get abortion drugs?
Sadly, it does not surprise me.
Moving on, I gotta say that it's not like the Republicans have a perfect track record in every hearing because a lot of them certainly do some of the same stuff. But in this particular case, they had an excellent record of staying on topic, while Democrats literally did everything in their power to gaslight and not address the actual issues. In fact, I counted maybe 7 times where they went completely off topic to virtue signal and play whataboutism games.
And I just have to say, I'm really tired of Republicans pretending they care about protecting women when all they mean is taking away women's ability to make decisions about their own bodies. If they really cared about protecting women, they'd care about the fact that this administration has elevated people who shield alleged sex traffickers like Andrew Tate.
What the hell does Andrew Tate have to do with doctors prescribing abortion drugs over the phone? I mean, this shouldn't be allowed. You should be held in contempt or reprimanded for wasting people's time like this and distracting from the issue that the hearing's about. Every time this woman spoke, she had to fling shit at people instead of actually discussing the topic. Then we have Dr. Verma here talking about how illegals should get free health care.
My patients are at risk because of restrictions on abortion care and cuts to Medicaid. They are at risk because of decreased funding to clinics that provide preventive care and cancer screenings, and fears about whether they can safely go to the hospital based on their immigration status.
Right, we want to make sure that we give free health care to illegals so they can have their anchor babies here. Don't worry, Dr. Verma. I don't think that particular group is concerned about abortion, at least with the first child. Now, outside of that, in a world where everyone's blackpilled and thinks nothing will ever get done, actually a lot has gotten done in the past year, but for people who think things are hopeless, note that an important strategy has been highlighted here. These politicians and doctors can go back and forth on their opinions on mifepristone, but what actually worked was embarrassing the shit out of that activist doctor. She will now be known as the gynecologist who thinks that men can get pregnant, and this ruined her credibility, which will, in effect, prevent new people from adopting her ideology.
Yeah, of course. So, she's basically what she was trying to do was that. What the fuck? Men need sex regularly? Okay, let me see. Okay. Sure. Anyways, sure, what to say? Yeah, so basically, she's basically trying to, she put her political opinion over her own credibility as a doctor. That's legit what she basically just did. She put her own credibility at risk because she wanted to be politically correct on things. It's crazy how people really take politics so seriously.
All right, this is Dr. Rashard Ritchie. He's claimed to be a physicist.
Okay. Okay, I want to see this one first.
If men went months without sleeping or eating, we'd call it a medical emergency.
But when men go months without sex, everyone just shrugs and says that's just life, isn't it? Well, long-term lack of intimacy quietly changes a man's hormones, his nervous system, his mood, the way he loves, even his lifespan. And most men don't realize it, and
That's
most women have never
crazy.
been actually
I,
told
I,
what actually happens inside a man's body when
that's crazy. So smashing makes you live longer. That'd be a good way. That'd be a good way to slide in. Like, yo, I want to live. I want to live longer. Help me.
intimacy disappears completely. Today, you're going to learn why regular sex and connection aren't luxuries for men. They're actually biological requirements.
Oh,
And once
really?
you understand the science, you'll never look at not tonight the same way again. Because listen, testosterone, we're going to consider this the Wi-Fi signal of masculinity. Think of a man's testosterone like the Wi-Fi signal in your house. When a man is sexually active, affection, arousal, touch, intercourse, the signal stays strong and stable. But when you go long
I
stretches,
think if I remember correctly, I think testosterone increases your sex drive. If I remember correctly.
without sexual connection, the signal flickers, it drops, and suddenly your body is running on one bar.
It's kind of funny how you want to. It's so funny how when you exercise, because basically how humans kind of work is that we basically like survival of the fittest, and obviously, yeah, is it survival to the fittest or survival of the fittest? Of the fittest. Yeah, it's survival of the fittest because I'm pretty sure there's natural origin to the same, but obviously if you're fit, you're gonna survive because usually, right, when you're fit, right, when you're toned or whatever, when you're fit, it increases the likelihood of you getting someone or getting a mate back in the whole caveman days. So I'm assuming that's where the survival of the fittest came from.
Service. And research confirms this. Sexually active men have more stable testosterone rhythms. Men with long gaps show lower morning testosterone, more irritability, and less drive for everything. And your body feels it. When testosterone drops, so does motivation, optimism, confidence, energy, and
Well, I can definitely say the confidence because when you smash, your confidence will go way up. It's like, oh shit, I actually, like, I definitely agree with the confidence, but
initiative. So when men say they feel more grounded or centered or like myself again or connected after consistent sex, that's not manipulation. That's endocrinology. Let's talk about cortisol, the stress hormone that rises when touch disappears. See,
cortisol is stress, basically. Yeah,
cortisol
it's
rises.
basically it's like a scientific term for stress. So the scientific it's the chemical that leads to stress. So the chemical that makes stress, whatever the fuck it's called. I
When
don't
you're
care.
stressed, when you're lonely or touch deprived, meaning that the male body does not go neutral when sex is missing, it shifts into low-grade survival mode. That's when men in long sexual droughts often say, I'm more irritable, or you can just tell, right? My fuse is shorter, road rage, everything triggers him. Everything feels harder, and the body is
I don't know if you did that. I don't know if you said it as a joke, but that's a good pun.
isn't betraying him, it's signaling a need for intimacy, not just orgasm. Orgasm won't fix it. Let's also talk about the anticipation hormone, dopamine. See, dopamine spikes during sex, during flirting, during kissing, during pleasurable anticipation. This is the hormone that makes you more productive, funnier, more creative, more affectionate.
Yeah, I get creative part really because you can like, ooh, what else can I do?
And more helpful around the house. Yes, and more motivated. It's the reason men suddenly clean the garage, take the trash out, or offer to pick the kids up when it's not even their day. Because the male brain thrives on reward anticipation. Heck, we all do. See, after healthy intimacy, dopamine levels rise steadily. Not
Yeah,
that
because again, for men, because obviously men are usually the providers, right? So when you have that reward anticipation, when you have that possibility of getting that reward, it increases productivity because you know that when you keep on working hard, keep your nose to the grindstone, you're gonna get something out in the end of it.
Sharp spike and crash that you get from addictions, a steady dopamine rise is what makes men walk differently, talk differently, carry themselves with purpose. The brain is simply saying, listen, I'm desired. Life is good. Let's do more of what makes life good. So it's a fine balance. Then there's oxytocin. See, oxytocin gets dismissed as the cuddle hormone, but in men, it's emotional security hormone, it's bonding, and it's nervous system regulation. See, men release oxytocin when the chest is touched, when you make that eye contact, when you breathe each other in, when your partner reaches for you, or when you orgasm with your partner. See, oxytocin does two major things for men. It strengthens pair bonding circuits. It makes you feel closer, more valued, and more emotionally safe. Number two, it calms your entire nervous system. It lowers anxiety, blood pressure, and even helps regulate sleep. This is why men feel more grounded, more stable, less pent up, and more connected when intimacy is consistent. They're ready to conquer the world. It's not weakness, it's just simple biology. And when sex is consistent, men thrive. When a man has intimacy with someone he cares about, his biology upgrades. Testosterone stabilizes. That dopamine, that anticipation hormone rises. That oxytocin, the bonding increases. Cortisol drops, that stress hormone drops. But when intimacy disappears, testosterone drops. Cortisol, or the stress hormone, rises. Motivation decreases. Irritability increases. And those bonding circuits weaken. He becomes distant. This sets the stage for one of the most painful cycles men face. The silent spiral of sexual drought. We're discussing why the male hormone circuit and body are designed to be sexually active. What happens when he is deprived from sex for whatever reason. And if your struggle is real, I'm here to help. Join my 14-day power reset. The link is in the comments below.
I can imagine that. And can imagine like, yo, let me smash here. He said, "I'll watch this 10-minute video on why you didn't let me in."
Because when men go long periods without intimacy, here's what really happens. So, see, he's feeling undesired. The confidence crashes. Men don't usually say, listen, I feel unwanted, I feel unattractive. Well, that's stuff women say, right? I feel rejected. Instead, the male brain interprets lack of intimacy as a war, as an assault. It's rejection. I feel invisible. I'm angry about that. I feel like a failure. I've lost value. And the first thing that drops isn't the erection, it is the confidence and his attraction to the person he feels like is depriving him from it. Next is the confidence crash. So confidence crash leads to the emotional withdrawal, and when a man feels unwanted, he protects himself. He becomes quieter, he stops initiating, he pulls back emotionally, stops offering affection, disconnects, he's not showing up like he used to, not because he doesn't necessarily care, but because he's trying to shield himself from more rejection.
And also, it's also the fact that why keep going? Because again, it's that reward anticipation. If you know you're not gonna get anything out of it, then it's just like there's no point. Honestly, it's also that reward anticipation.
This withdrawal leads to less communication. So see, without that oxytocin and the emotional safety, communication becomes a threat. He might stop expressing his needs, sharing feelings, engaging in conversations, or even opening up. And listen, it's not intentional. It's a biological protection mechanism. And then that less communication leads to even less intimacy. It becomes a vicious cycle. And now the cycle feeds himself. He feels undesired, so he withdraws. He withdraws, then she feels or he feels disconnected. The partner feels disconnected. And then everyone feels disconnected, so everybody's pulling away. And it gets to the point where you can't pull him back in. He feels even more unwanted because now you've pulled away. So this downward spiral can last months and even years, and it fuels anger. It fuels that tit for tat that happens around the house, and they get to the point where they don't care. They get angry because they're grieving the loss of connection. So now let's talk about the medical side of regular sex. See, men who have sex weekly have mortality, they live long, they have lower cardiovascular disease, they have better blood flow and endothelial function, healthier blood pressure, deeper sleep, improved immune system, because sex is physical. It's actual cardiovascular, neurological, it's hormonal, emotional, and relational all at one time. Now, I want to make something crystal clear here. Ejaculation alone helps the prostate, but partnered intimacy transforms the entire man. So release may support prostate health, even though it may bleach you in other ways, but only intimacy brings oxytocin, testosterone stability, that dopamine wave, that fuels motivation, the immune system benefits, that emotional connection, nervous system regulation, decreasing anxiety, the cardiovascular improvement, the rest stress. This is why intimacy makes men stronger. They're more patient, they bring gifts, they're more emotionally stable, they're better communicators, more grounded.
It doesn't have to be sex specifically. It can just be a simple hug. Go a simple touch, like something else can be like that. A video that I also wanted to talk, I actually was pretty interested in, is by this girl named The Second Story, and it's called fan fiction has destroyed writing. Make terrible writers, so um I wanted to in that too. She did like basically the heroes stuff like that. She was on my recommendation for quite a while, not quite a while, but for like a few weeks, and then I didn't watch anything from her, so I guess that just went away. But uh yeah, so I do want to watch The Anti-Hero's a Lie. How is it a lie? The absolute degeneracy of modern writing. Oh yeah. No, let's watch that one. Let's watch that one.
When I started this channel, it was largely because I had been noticing a broad decline in storytelling in general and literature in particular, a decline that began a lot longer ago than most people think. And my aim has always been to help, insofar as I am able, to remind writers of the true fundamentals of storytelling, and to hopefully elevate their craft into something that isn't beholden to current market trends nor controlled by the fleeting tastes of book talk or bookstagram or whatever. However, I've been noticing that there are a lot more aspects that have been contributing to the decline of literature besides just a lack of understanding regarding the fundamentals. Today, I would like to focus on one of the most glaring issues plaguing modern publishing. Something you hear a lot is that women have come to dominate the literary world more and more.
Yeah.
We'll look closer at those numbers later, but for now I think we can all agree that female writers have achieved fame and success comparable to a lot of their male predecessors, which is most often presented as proof of this is things like this, despite the fact that there have always existed things like this. I'm personally of the opinion that the literary world is so rife with corruption and ideologies that any observation along these lines is meaningless. Generally, across the board, it isn't really men or women who dominate the literary world, it's ideologies and popular trends in social politics, whatever those might be at a given time. Historically, a lot, not all, but a lot of the most widely celebrated female writers, especially within the 20th and 21st centuries, have been at the bleeding edge of social and political progressivism. To my mind, this makes it less about being a woman and more about being an acolyte of a particular ideology. Like I said though, not always, just most of the time. Nevertheless, it is somewhat true that right now women somewhat dominate the publishing industry.
I would argue they do. Because unless it's like, because the most people that, besides Brandon Sanderson and a couple of like Joanne Abercrombie, most of them are women, especially in the traditional literature sense. A lot of them are, especially nowadays. It's the more popular ones are made by women. Unless you're Brandon Sanderson, then just it's mostly women.
First of all, some housekeeping. Apparently, I will be punished in some mysterious way if I use a certain word in my videos. This word has 4 letters, starts with a P, ends with an N, and there's also an O and an R in there too. So for the course of this video, I'll have to refer to it differently. I'm going to use adult entertainment or adult videos or explicit videos, I don't know. None of these words quite have the same meaning, but you and I both know what we're talking about here, so let's just make do.
Yeah.
All right, to start with, let's just push aside any conversation about taste. This is not going to be a video about what I like or don't like to read. What I am offering you in this video is not my opinion or my reading preference, it is facts. And the first thing we need to establish is that all this so-called romance fiction and most, if not all, of the current women's literature out there is not women's literature. It's...
Yeah.
As a woman, the most common defense I hear for romance fiction, especially the romance fiction that is so prevalent today, is that it is literature for women. Whenever anyone tries to express some concern about these genres or the nature of their content, that person is immediately condemned for being anti-woman or anti-women's literature. The idea being that these types of books are not just popular among women, but that they define womanhood, and to be opposed to them in any way is to be opposed to women. Women such as myself who are critical of these books are often said to be suffering from internalized misogyny. The reality about all this is that it isn't a question of woman versus anti-woman or even woman versus man.
It's essentially they just want standards. That's the problem. They just say, yo, look at this shit, man. This is what you're publishing. Mostly some of these are traditionally published. That means that they go through editors and all that shit, and they say, hell yeah, let's put that shit out there. So it's the standards. They're trying to tell you that our standards are so low that we can have books like these out in a fucking jiffy and they'll still make tons of money. So it just shows you how low the bar is.
The issue here is probably one of the oldest ones in existence. It's the normalization of explicit adult entertainment. Whether it's women or men who are trying to do that is pretty irrelevant. Because the number
Sometimes it'd be animals. Sometimes it'd be men or maybe things. we have to be human. There'd be things or animals.
Reason anyone has ever tried to normalize this kind of, explicit content is money. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. First of all, we need to establish this fact very, very clearly. Women's literature is not, just some randomly horny trend in the book industry. In that sense, outside of a handful of odd entries here and there, women's literature doesn't exist. Women haven't taken over the literary world. A 4-letter word starting with P has taken over the literary world. Barnes & Noble and every other major and independent bookseller, especially all those new romance bookshops, have now just become another kind of adult entertainment store. And no, that's not a good thing. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This is not XXX adult entertainment. This is. You are actually incorrect. For a man, average man, I don't know, reading an explicit depiction of a sex act might not really get the job done. Men typically tend to gravitate towards seeing the act on the screen in one form or another. Women have always, on average, preferred to read it, even if some do end up hooked on the filmed version. The female mind has pretty much the same reaction, generally speaking, to the written version. In fact, written erotic content tends to have even more of an impact on the minds of women than filmed erotic content.
Yeah, because you're imagining it. You're really putting your mind into it. So that would get you riled up in a way than just seeing it.
Why? Because men and women engage with media in fundamentally different ways. When it comes to adult entertainment, your simple, straightforward 2 people banging video isn't really going to do much of anything for a woman, generally speaking. There have been numerous studies done regarding female sexuality or the differences between male and female arousal, and generally across the board, they'll tell you that women require what is sometimes called mental mapping to be sexually aroused. That is, there needs to be more story and more opportunity for her to feel empathy. That's just how it is for a woman. Empathy is a huge factor for women in all aspects of their lives, but yes, especially when it comes to erotic media. With written explicit content, as opposed to your typical material found on the hub, it's a lot easier for the woman to imagine herself as the female in the scene. In addition, as I said, women require an emotional element to their
It's that connection and self insert, not self insert. I mean, yeah, self. That's that more drastical one, but it's the connection.
Erotic content that is almost impossible in the simple filmed scenes that can so easily do it for men, typically. That is to say, watching Mrs. Smith bang the mailman while her husband is at work is plenty for most men, but a woman will want to know the whole story. She'll want the sexual tension that builds up between Mrs. Smith and the mailman over several encounters, the dangerous possibility that her husband might come home any minute, the explicit fact that the mailman chose her over all the other housewives on the street, and so on and so on. A woman would also prefer some kind of story to bind it all together. That's just how women are. If you put explicit sex scenes into a novel-length story, it's going to hit a woman's mind in much the same way the top video on the hub hits a guy. As I said, that's just how women are. A lot of men might hear this and be a little dubious, and in fact, I've found that a lot of men, while they might raise their eyebrows a little at just how explicit women's books have become in recent years, they won't really go as far as to categorize them the same way as, you know, the kind of thing you'd find on the hub. Male writers certainly find such classification baffling, but let me break down how this works for women. If you look at your average popular romantasy book, those books that have dominated book sales for a few years now, and which are among the worst offenders when it comes to wildly explicit content, the explicit scenes coincide with the story to some degree. Now, the authors of these stories will tell you that these sex scenes are there for narrative purposes. They serve either plot development or character development. I don't think that's necessarily true, but let's go with it. Keep in mind what I said about how women engage with erotic content versus how men
it
do.
can.
Let's take Sarah J. Maas, for example. I shouldn't have to tell you who she is and why she's relevant to this conversation, but if you don't know that...
I remember she's like, it's her and like Rebecca Yarros are like the biggest like women writers of right now. It's Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros. For sure.
Let me just say that she's the woman responsible for the series of books commonly referred to as... Skilled writers such as Maas understand how the story shape of all aspects of storytelling affects reader engagement. We've talked about this before on this channel. Stories, and even their individual components, must have a story shape. That is, at least one character trying to achieve a goal with some kind of opposition to that goal, culminating in a mini-climax in which the character achieves success or failure, or some unexpected thing happens. That's a story shape. Maas is actually pretty good at using this story shape to create fairly well-paced, if highly formulaic stories that really draw the reader in. I mean, anyone can write smut, but not everyone can sell millions of copies worldwide. Whether or not her stories are good stories, I don't... The point is, she understands how the thing works, but then she applies this same story shape to her sex scenes. Of course, I shouldn't have to tell you how sex scenes themselves have a story shape. She has stated in many interviews that she endeavors to make sure her sex is plot relevant. A big way she does that is to have the erotic scenes take place at the come down immediately after a major plot mini-climax. This incorporates the emotional release of the narrative with the sexual release of the erotic scene. She stated that she often tries to make the significant sex scenes, such as that 2 or 3 day sex marathon, occur at the close of equally significant plot arcs. This is ideal for the female brain, which already seeks a story shape even in sexually explicit content. But from a reader engagement plus female adult entertainment perspective, this means that Maas has doubly hooked her female readers. The story and the extremely explicit content have become inextricably linked, and the explicit aspects have been delivered via the story in precisely the most ideal way necessary to capture the infatuation of the female reader. Another interesting thing to note, if you're not yet sold on the fact that all of this so-called women's lit is little more than, you know, 4-letter word starts with P, have a look at how much women's fiction has become subject to categorization norms that you don't see outside like the hub or fan fiction, which has become just another form of debauched adult entertainment. Sure, yeah, okay, fan fiction that isn't smut does theoretically exist, I guess, but that's like saying there are non-explicit OnlyFans creators. Within those spheres, the common term used for this categorization is a narrative one, or even a literary one. Trope.
That's why fan fiction always gets such a bad rap, because I've seen a couple of fan fictions. They're all like decently written ones I've seen. It's just that obviously with fan fiction, anyone can post anything and call it fan fiction. So there's no standards when it comes to fan fiction. There's no standards you have to upkeep when it comes to fan fiction. So it's like that's why it gets such a bad rap.
talk about tropes all the time. Tropes are fine, there's nothing wrong with them. They're a common tool for literary analysis. A little reductive, a little ridiculously overutilized, but benign in themselves. But the important factor to note here is this. When it comes to women's arousal, they need far more specific things than men do. So a woman's sexual entertainment taste will always be 1,000 times more specific than a man's. So when a woman seeks out a new book, she'll look for specific cocktails of tropes for that thing she needs to feed her specific hungers. Or, I guess, thirsts. A quick perusal of the book recommendation section of the romance books subreddit will destroy any remaining illusions you might have had that these books are about anything other than sexual arousal. Just take a moment and look at some of these. Can you honestly say that this attitude towards women's fiction has to do with anything other than sex? I spent a little time while I was researching this subject talking to women and reading the accounts of women who were struggling with the addiction to hardcore content. A solid 90 to 95% of them started with erotic fiction, or smut, as they often called it, and fan fiction. A few stated that they didn't really ever get into videos, often because videos couldn't feed their precise needs. Several mentioned that they had quit the video content only to fall back on erotic fiction, and had happily arrived at the realization that there was functionally no difference between the two. I read an account from one woman who noted that she preferred written smut because within books and fan fiction she was able to find things that would have been illegal in video form.
Oh.
So that's nice.
Oh, that's... That has some very bad implications. If you know, you know. That has some very bad implications.
I learned too that there was a worryingly large subset of these women, some as young as 17, whose tastes became so depraved so quickly that they were now suffering from something called POCD. I'll let you look that one up yourself. Several women and teenagers remarked that they wished they had.
I'm gonna switch it up. I've never heard that before. Oh. So basically, ugh, that's nasty. So it's basically, it's basically affects fertilities. Well, so so what? It's basically like pimples in the Oh, that's crazy. Yuck, yuck. That's nasty. That's nasty. That's basic. Okay. Yeah, that's gross.
Never started reading erotic fiction when they were younger, as they believed it had destroyed their lives. The thing is, just as with people's taste in hardcore video subgenres, these tastes, these hungers, will intensify over time. The same mechanic is at play as you see in men who have to constantly seek harder and harder filmed content in order to even be aroused. For that reason, more and more women's fiction has been including very, very dark material.
Jeez, bro.
Disturbing age gaps, torture, abuse, even rape. Women don't start out wanting rape fantasy fiction. That's something that happens over time as they become desensitized to more mainstream content. I don't know how many videos and reviews I've seen by very young teenage girls who say the explicit sex in Sarah J. Maas's books is very mediocre and vanilla. That would be because they're already desensitized and crave harder content. Honestly though, by now I should have convinced you that these books are merely mass-produced hardcore adult entertainment and that their readership consumes them in much the same way one would consume any other form of, you know, four-letter word starts with P, and that the result of that consumption, especially on a large enough scale and on a long enough timeline, is pretty much the same as any other form of hardcore entertainment addiction. So let's move on. Now, let's assume that you can get someone to concede that, yes, this is all, you know, a written form of the same kind of crap you'd find on the hub. At that point, what happens is someone will insist that this is somehow the ethical type of adult entertainment.
Yeah, because it's the more ethical type because there's actually stuff behind it. Because usually in stereotypical P videos, the story is like super basic. It's like, oh, this person got stuck in the dryer. Oh, um, this person, freaking, this person's getting is getting massaged and shit like that. It's a very big, it's a very, or this person's at a restaurant, has used the bathroom and sees this mysterious hole in the wall. It's very, the story is super basic. When it comes on to literature, obviously you're gonna have to add more than just the erotica scene. So you're gonna have to add the characters, where they come from, all that stuff. So that's why they call it the more ethical way, because there's more to this, there's more to it than just the smut, basically.
We'll get to that. Or they'll start trying to argue that this kind of written explicit content has positive effects. I've heard all these arguments. I've heard people say that the heavy amount of sex in these books creates some kind of sex-positive environment for female empowerment. I've heard people say that books like these increase readers' empathy. I've also, as I've said, been told that objecting to literature like this is inherently
I don't think R word. I don't think freaking stories with the R word in it, or age gaps, or abuse is gonna be considered making more empathetic. I mean, it probably maybe can, but
anti-women. First of all, let's talk about empathy and the chemical reaction romance novels have on the female brain. There are so few
but if you come desensitized, then the empathy goes low.
Studies that have been done.
I mean, that's how sociopaths are made. It's just like they like, for example, like if a gangster sees like murder so many times, all that empathy is just gonna go away. Not go away, but it's gonna lessen. It's basically desensitization is the death of empathy.
Adult films
or sympathy or whatever.
Impact
I
on
mean,
women.
it's a death of both, but
And almost zero studies that have been done on erotic literature's impact on women. This is one of the most criminally understudied areas in human existence. Something I hear all the time is that romance novels increase the reader's empathy. I doubt it's that simple, but let's say it is. Women are empathetic by default. That is not something that romance literature gives women. It heightens it, certainly, but as in all emotions, a heightened state of anything is usually very bad. Heightened empathy reduces a person's logical response and cognitive reasoning. It makes it difficult to regulate the emotional response with reason. Heightened states of empathy have been found to contribute to pain, depression, anxiety, emotional overinvolvement, burnout, vicarious trauma, and post-traumatic stress disorder. I mean, right out of the gate, the fact that romance books heighten empathy in readers is proof that despite the intentions of the writers, these books arouse readers, whether they want to be aroused or not.
That can be an issue, because if you're trying to analyze the story as critically as possible, then your feelings are gonna get in the way of that. So you can't criticize the story. You can't talk about a story critically if your emotions are tied into it.
Not, which is an unsettling thought all by itself. So, imagine you're a young woman and you're reading a steamy romance in which the main female character is being mistreated in some way by the male character.
Oh, God.
And this female character feels arousal at this mistreatment. Written well, this arousal on the part of the female character will trigger empathetic arousal in the female reader. A young, inexperienced woman will then be troubled trying to understand why she's feeling aroused by what is borderline abusive behavior. However, the story will continue in this vein until the man and woman are living happily ever after. The moment of joy at the end is the emotional climax that is essential for a woman to fully enjoy an erotic romance. And no, I'm not saying women are super weak or something like that, but I think we can all agree that strong emotions are exhausting no matter who you are, and women are more prone to feel emotions strongly. An empathetic response to a romance book will result in an emotional roller coaster designed specifically to ensnare the tastes of women in such a way that their emotional involvement in a story will tend to be more intensive than a man's on average. Add to that the sexual infatuation triggered by the addictive erotic release of the extremely explicit scenes, which also takes a toll on the mind whether you enjoy these scenes or not, especially if you do. I don't really understand why more people aren't aware of how intensely bad these books are for women's minds. I don't really read romance, smutty or otherwise, but I did read quite a few of these books when I was trying to understand the genre better. And something that really surprised me was how huge of an emotional impact they had on me. Despite the fact that I didn't care about these characters, and despite the fact that they were all mostly happy endings and everything else, I was legitimately depressed during the few weeks when I was reading these books. I was having trouble focusing on my work, I was having trouble sleeping, I was even having trouble eating, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong until it dawned on me that my mind was basically being ripped around a female-specific roller coaster that was designed to trigger the most extreme emotional and chemical reaction in my mind, short of actually doing drugs. Interestingly, the reaction I experienced was the same reaction men talk about when they watch filmed explicit content. The depression, the difficulty focusing, the lethargy. Women who are addicted to this sexually explicit fiction don't even realize that they're literally addicted to, adult entertainment. Without exception, men who are addicted to watching explicit content are viewed as bad. I shouldn't have to tell anyone watching this video how bad that is for the mind. It just happens that all the language surrounding this accepted fact says men's minds, how bad it is for men, how much damage it does to men. There have been countless studies done on the negative impact watching this stuff has on men's physical health and mental health, on their relationships, friendships, professional lives, and on their character. But basically 0 such studies have been done on women. Part of this is because most researchers won't acknowledge that women's addiction to erotic fiction is in any way comparable to a man's addiction to filmed erotic media. Part of it is because there's so much feminist armor packed around women's erotica that even if a woman were to watch the hub 10 hours a day, she would still somehow be protected by the fact that she's empowering herself or, I don't know, exploring her sexuality. For social political reasons, most people won't touch that with a 10-foot pole. When it comes to men, this kind of content is known to have an enormous negative impact on their daily lives. Therefore, there are countless resources out there to help men kick that habit and restore sanity to their lives. There's also a lot of shame among men. Men will mock other men for their addiction to this stuff. But for women, nothing. There are no resources to help women kick their addiction to erotic literature, at least none that I could find, and any woman who feels shame when reading this stuff is said to be suffering from internalized misogyny and is advised to focus on overcoming the stigma by, reading more of these books. Other women will help her in this endeavor. To this end, there are romance book clubs with completely expected names in which the pursuit of women's fiction can be enjoyed without shame. I read one account from a young woman who said that when she realized she was addicted, she sought help from a therapist who treated the matter as if it was nothing serious at all. No different from, a chocolate addiction. Addiction to appreciation of erotic literature is presented to women as female empowerment and whatever various other hot words are part of the current feminist lexicon. If a woman were to express discomfort with the proliferation and increasing intensity of sexually explicit material in women's fiction, she is painted as an enemy, a prude, or, my personal favorite, a slave to the patriarchy. They'll say it allows women to explore their sexuality in a safe space. I'm pretty sure you could also say that men on the hub are exploring their sexuality in a safe space. I don't know. To which women will often argue, well, that kind of content, the stuff on the hub, is unethical. But that erotic literature, if they even concede that it's the same kind of content, is somehow ethical, meaning that, I'm assuming, no actors or actresses were harmed in its making. Be that as it may, the making of the explicit content is a separate issue from its consumption. I'm sure you could find an ethical and environmentally friendly way to make heroin, wouldn't make it a good thing for me to consume it. A lot of people these days talk about how social bias prevented women from enjoying romance literature. Well, now the social moral landscape has shifted again. If you're a woman and you're not a proud champion of smut, then you're the enemy of women. In general, though, I think the so-called social bias surrounding romance novels isn't much different from the bias surrounding all commercial fiction. I also don't think that's done that much to stop women from mass consuming romance novels. Champions of romance novels will present the acceptance of smut as crucial to female empowerment and independence. This is categorically false, and in fact I think I've shown how the opposite is true. But women will nevertheless be banished from female society by other women if they dare to disagree. Men typically who watch hardcore stuff or who are addicted to it are ashamed of it. Women who are addicted to reading, as they call it, smut, are supposed to be proud of it. None of these women will allow any talk of shame. But here's the thing. Shame is not a bad thing. Shame is how our brains tell us we're doing something.
Yeah, but that's the thing that they think that shame is a bad thing. That any sort of shame, that if you feel that you should not shame anybody for anything whatsoever, and that's a problem. Because shame is what tells us that, yeah, let's not go this far. We're not going this far. Right? It's the shame. if it ain't. But I'm gonna end the stream early. I'm gonna end the stream a little bit. I would want to watch the whole thing, but it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I had to set up some fish. So, I'll end the stream here tomorrow. Tomorrow I might do Sly Cooper 2. I've been playing it a little bit. So, by the time when I start streaming, I'm not gonna start from the beginning. So, just warning that right now. So tomorrow, most likely, it's gonna be a Sly Cooper 2 retro stream. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day and peace out. Oh, hold on. Let me put the little goodbye bye. Yeah. Goodbye bye. See you later, guys. See you tomorrow. Again, I might do no. I might do an anime stream because my suspension from Twitch did get lifted. So, well, not lifted, but more like it passed. So, I might do anime watch stream on Twitch, but I know I can't watch any Chain Soldier because that was what got me fucking suspended in the first place. But yeah. So yeah, tomorrow's probably gonna be a retro stream of Sly Cooper 2. Um, yeah, that's probably how it's gonna be. Thanks so much for coming. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, have a good rest of your day. Peace.